Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are getting into UFOs large and in charge tonight. Now, our original guest, Ryan Stacy, he got called into work. He cannot be here tonight, but Mr. Rob G. from After Hours is here. We're going to get into the entire UFO story, get you all caught up, especially after last night's interview with Stephen Bassett. Later on, Dirty Filth is going to be here for the night as well, and we're in for a good time indeed. Let's say hello to our medalists tonight. Laura Lobbs in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee taking home a silver. Race fan with a bronze medal tonight. Hello, Simon the Likeable. Simon the Likeable will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. Brown Dwarf, Kurt M, Free Your Mind. Our favorite Marine, Black Dragon, thank you for joining us. Very much appreciate your love, buddy, and thank you for your service. Kevin, Vash the Impaler, Anna, Mama Catherine from Atlanta. Mwah! I love you, Mama Catherine. You are the best, and your morning text messages to me are beautiful. I love them. They make me smile every morning. So thank you so much, Mama Catherine. Let's see here. We have Tim Mothman's goatee. We have, who else? Thurston Howell III, Rat Sass. Good to have you here. Rat Sass will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Mama Susan, good to see you. And who else do we have here? Area 51, nice to have you back. Sandra Kincaid, good to see you. So we continue on with our roll call tonight. And who else do we have here? We have Roger Murray. How you doing, buddy? And who else is here? Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Thank you for joining us. And let's see here. Let's scroll on down. Derek Galloway looks good tonight. He's got a bow tie on, just so you guys know. Always wears a bow tie during the show. Millennium, my man. Jessica S. Good to see you. Scrolling on down, we got Digger Dog. Always a pleasure, my man. And Richard Elmore. Good to see you. Jenny White Bear. Much love to you, my dear. And there's Javier from Crypted 559. Good to have you here, buddy. Cannot wait. I hope you're joining us in Reno. I really do. Nikki in Seattle, Eternity Eternal. Good to have you both here. Pixie Lara and her purple hair. Thank you for coming on in. Susan Alloway, always a pleasure. Christine Lynn, JSCO. Good to have you both here. Randy Petticourt, welcome to SOR Chat. Skip to Malou. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And D. Cohen, nice to have you here. Nick Adkins, Vin Man. And let's see here. Who else is here? Jay Don, nice to have you back. Thomas Rock, good to have you here. And who else do we have? Pam Harris, thank you for coming on in. And who else is here? Crystal J, good to see you. Let's get the radio side started here. Hello there, Ozzy Ange. How are you? We're going to open up the radio side here so our good friend Bill WD40 can enter the Spreaker chat and lube us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. Yeah, you do. Lee the Bee and Draculticon, how are you? Good to see you both. And who else is joining us here? Scroll on down. The best name on YouTube, Dry Toast. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Rich Buddy, good to see you here. And who else do we have? The Lip Blade, Grantavius. If you want to come on in, Grant, you can. Just saying. Ann B, good to have you here. And who else is here? I don't know. We got like 30 seconds. Quick reminder, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And join us May 10th through 12th, 2024 at Reno, Nevada's Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. It is our great time of the year where we celebrate with the fans, with our special guests, our team from SOR. We want to see all of you there. And so make sure you book May 10th through 12th on your calendar. Hide terrible times. Horns up, everyone. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon, you can join the SOR Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of information tonight. We are going to be joined by Spaced Out Radio's After Hours host, Mr. Rob G, as we're going to get heavy into the UFO side tonight. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton brings us a great story from Among the Missing on his YouTube channel. Right after that, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio will be here for the Crypted Report. Now, there's a lot going on in the UFO world and a lot coming here as we head into the final couple of months of 2023. This year has been a shocker of news, especially surrounding whistleblower David Grusch and his testimony in front of Congress, basically stating that UFOs are here. We have the crashes, we have the pieces, we have the craft, and more importantly, we have the bodies. Well, there's been a lot of discrepancies going on and people trying to discredit David Grusch over that time. And apparently, he's getting ready to blow the whistles open again. Mr. Rob G from After Hours on Spaced Out Radio, the social dig on YouTube. It's always good to have you here, my friend. Thank you for stepping on in and joining us tonight. How you doing?
David Scott, how are you tonight?
I am great, my man. I am great. You know, we were scheduled to have another guest for our radio audience. However, that person had to work. So you were coming in anyways to co-host with me tonight because I know you love these topics. And I just figured, you know what? Let's do a show, man. Let's do a show and get everybody in here to try and make things happen. Talk about this UFO subject because you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Very rarely am I wrong when something is going to happen. I know that sounds egotistical. I really thought that with all the things that are happening in the world right now, okay, between Russia, Ukraine, I mean, yes, that's been going on for over a year now, but with the explosions of wartime cries in Israel and the Gaza Strip and the Middle East starting to heat up, I really thought this UFO story, Rob, was going to die down and become a secondary, if not a thirdary issue regarding politics. But it's not. It is continuing, man, to continue to grow. It is continuing to fester. And here we are with another set of hearings that are about to come up in just a couple of days. What do you think's going on here, man?
Dave, it's fantastic. I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful sign. It's a beautiful sight because in past times, something like the distraction that they put forward with these wartime efforts would have normally quashed the conversation. However, we were able to get past that and still have the conversation going. So it's a beautiful time for we should feel great about that. We should feel great that even with everything going on in the world, that we are still managing to have the conversation. So to me, it would look like it's just as important of an issue as everything else is going on in the world at this current time.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think that this subject has reached that level of importance, and I really wasn't sure about that. Usually there is some sort of modicum that goes around with topics, okay, and how much airplay are they going to get? How much time are they going to get? And we saw the mainstream media really die off on this until the creation of News Nation, which seems to be pumping this topic like there's never been a topic like it before, and their ratings because of this topic are very large. It goes to show that anytime this topic is brought up, people want to hear about it. People want to know about it. And so maybe that has something to do with it because normally the one thing the media can be good at, whether you like the media or not, is they can pressure the topic, pressure witnesses, pressure the government and the Congress people and the senators to speak about topics. That's what the media is good at. And we haven't seen them very good in this topic over the years. But since the creation of News Nation, we are seeing that push. We are seeing them understand the importance of this topic, that we may not be alone in our universe. And therefore, the topic will not go away because this media outlet refuses to let it go away.
Right. That is so true. And you can think love or hate, because I hear people on both sides of the conversation. You love or hate it, but this has almost everything to do with David Grusch, the story that broke out, News Nation getting on the side of the story. And you could tell initially News Nation, they had the story, but they weren't fully on board yet. But you could thank Ross Coulthard for keeping the pressure on in his fantastic reporting, as well as the UFO hearings that we had in front of Congress. So I think those things right there pretty much allowed News Nation to fully buy into it and understand the importance and the reality of what is actually going on. And to their credit, they've stayed on top of it, and you have to applaud them for it. Them and I believe it's The Hill, right? The Hill as well. So, I think there was a lot of credibility that was gained on this topic just for those events alone.
Well, in looking at the latest news, and this goes to Ross Coulthard and Bryce Zabel. And Ross Coulthard has a direct line to David Grusch. Apparently, he is planning on responding to the allegations that James Lakatsky made on the Weaponized podcast, which is hosted by George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, that some of the 40 plus witnesses that David Grusch investigated didn't know what they were talking about, according to Lakatsky, and what they were saying is false. Now, both Ross and Bryce Zabel say that Lakatsky's allegations will be heavily disputed and evidence will be provided. The question is, what kind of what kind of further evidence can somebody like David Grusch say when, I mean, he's done so many interviews regarding this subject, and he has to watch every word that he says due to his non-disclosure agreements. It's going to be interesting to see how he follows up on somebody like Lakatsky, who ran the ATIP and OSAP program at the Pentagon.
That's going to be a tough one. Obviously I don't, with the Dopser review process, unless he's been, free to speak on additional information, I don't think that that's going to be the play. I think he may come out with something that kind of debunks the statement made by Lakatsky, or kind of just take, as far as maybe stepping up or standing up for the people that he did interview. So making some sort of statement along those lines, but probably no new bombshells. I would think that anything he's able to say, he definitely said at the UFO hearing. So I'm interested to see what it is that he has to say, and he has to speak up for himself, because a lot of people who watched that weaponized interview definitely walked away from that feeling that Lakatsky and who's the other guy? I forget his name. But they were pretty arrogant and pretty standoffish, and who says they have all the information too? You know what I mean? So they were up there acting like they had additional information that they could release, but they didn't want to speak on it. But then you want to speak on the people, David Grusch, and the people that he interviewed, and try to wreck their credibility. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what he's gonna say, and I just can't wait.
Well, the interesting part about this is this, Rob. Okay, how many different storylines are there right now? Okay, we have David Grusch. We have the eyewitnesses' testimony that hasn't been made public, nor have their names been made public. We have James Lakatsky saying one thing. We got Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the head of Arrow, saying another thing. We have Stratton saying another thing. We have the politicians wondering what the hell is going on. I mean, this has turned into an absolute mess of information that is going down so many different pathways and roads right now. It really is hard to collect the real focus of where the story is going.
I think we're pretty. I think if you sift through all of the stories, I think we can sniff out what the truth is there, or what's most likely to be the truth. And it's going to be the statements that David Grusch made, because till this day, there hasn't been anything brought forward by anyone else that would show that what he was saying was untrue. The slander of the witnesses that came to him, I mean, that's hearsay at this point. Where's the evidence on that? We know for sure that there are reverse engineering projects going around. We know from historic incidents like Roswell that ET bodies have been retrieved. So I think we have enough evidence out there to validate, or at least say that what David Grusch is saying is very plausible. And I think that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the things that we can not necessarily prove, but we can at least say leans into a lot of credibility. Now, other statements, we know Kirkpatrick is. We know that he has stood up and lied essentially in front of our faces. So I wouldn't, take anything he says to heart. And then Lakatsky, and still don't remember the other guy's name he interviewed with, but both of those guys were involved with George Knapp and the whole Skinwalker, Secrets of the Skinwalker, Hunt for the Skinwalker. And in some of those books, none of that stuff has been proven. So with all the conversation going on right now, I'm pretty much blocking those guys out, or anything that any of those other three have to say. And I'm sticking with Grusch on this one, man. And like I said, that's why it's going to be interesting to see what he does come out and say, because I think he will refocus the conversation where it needs to be.
All right. We got a question coming from Simon in Australia who is asking, why do we think that anything that comes out of this will actually be the truth after so long? Rob, I'm going to get you to start off on this one.
So why do we think that anything comes out of this would actually be the truth after so long? So I think just like I just said, I think it leans more. You have take the historical evidence that we have. I think that's where it all starts, because we already know that getting to the answer is going to start with the experiencers and the history that we already have. It's not really necessarily depending on a statement that someone has made to be, deemed a true statement or not. Does it line up with the evidence? Does it line up with previous evidence that we've recovered and that we know to be real evidence? And I think that's what we have to do. Because yeah, I mean, if we're just waiting on a government official or somebody to come out and make a statement, or even like Lukatsky, these guys are definitely making statements that sound nice. Some of them do. The retrieve craft that they say they've breached the hull, okay, maybe, but we don't have any. There's that's just a statement. We can't line that up with anything historical, and I just think we have to keep connecting the dots with the evidence we've already collected, the things that we already know, and then does this statement align with that? So I think that's my answer for that.
Then we know from Representative and Congressman Tim Burchett that a new skiff has been booked for members of Congress to meet with the inspectors general, the Department of Defense, and the intelligence community to discuss UAPs in a classified setting. The first meeting is in a couple days on October 26th, and the second meeting is November 16th. He says it's a start. Okay, so that means we're going to get back into congressional hearings here potentially. Now, I know that you plan on going live, Rob, on the 26th on the morning of our YouTube channel to kind of keep everybody up to date. I believe that's around 9 a.m. Pacific time is when we're kind of looking at things, and it's going to be tough getting information right off the bat, but we're going to try and bring that live on our YouTube channel for anybody who is listening to that time. But I mean, here's one of the issues here. Okay, we know that there's a lot of things going on. We know they want to get David Grusch in a skiff, and find out and pick his brain more of where they can lead to more information. The UFO side has been uniquely divided over David Grusch. There have been some very vocal opponents about him because he's not providing firsthand information. He's not providing any evidence whatsoever to the public regarding this subject. And there are people who think he's the second coming of Lou Elizondo and
Mm.
this UFO deity that's going to help bring disclosure. Why do you think David Grusch has been so polarizing in the UFO world?
I think it because he adds to the story. So he didn't come out and make random statements that we've never heard before. He actually corroborated a lot of things, and that goes back to the history, and that's why our history is so important in ufology. Like if you know anything about anything that's been reported or has come out in the past, and to have someone come out and make statements that align with that. That's that, my whole approach is common sense, and using common sense here in just simple deduction, it lines up. So I think it pretty much in current modern day validates and builds on the story that we already know to be there. So I think that's what it was, and the fact that he was directly involved in a program, and his position was one that allowed people from within who were dealing with these programs and projects to come and confide in him and give him the information. And that's why the people, and you said it's split in the community. You have the other people on the other side that say he didn't have firsthand, he didn't touch these things. But what I'll say about that is that his position was, to be someone that people could come to. And that's exactly what happened. People who were dealing with the programs came to him and gave him the information. So of course it's going to be secondhand information. He wasn't actively out there directly dealing with the programs, but he received information from the ones who were. So I think, that it's pretty much why he's so polarizing right now, just as big as a Bob Lazar. And actually, when you line it up with some of the things that Bob Lazar said, it just all makes sense, man.
Well, you know what? Here's my thing. And I want to get into this a little bit, and this may carry us over to the next half hour of the show. Okay. What is evidence? What is proof? Okay. For some reason, the UFO field feels like it's dignified enough to have the information brought forward, that anything brought forward in front of the government should be brought forward in front of Joe and Jill Public. All right. Now, we have to realize, and this goes into something that a good friend of this show, Matt Ford, from his YouTube channel, has been taking a lot of heat recently about sources. And I think we need to discuss this for a little bit here. Number one, they aren't giving us anything. David Grusch is not going to come out to the public with pictures and video and everything. He can't. His non-disclosure agreements do not allow him to do that. They allow him to sway around the topic via conversation, which is what he has been doing. Okay. And he has given up a lot of information and verbal confirmation of what the American government allegedly has. We have to take that as a positive and not a negative, saying the guy is grifting for dollars. The guy has no proof. He's got more proof than most eyewitnesses in a court case. He has turned over that proof to the Congress during the last hearings, which he even stated he provided for them. All right. And we're going to assume that they are being truthful here because it is under oath. Right. So I'm not sure where the UFO community keeps calling this guy a fake or a grifter regarding this. I don't agree with that. Okay. But I also, on the flip side, understand the frustration of the UFO community, Rob, where they're tired of the anecdotal stories. They're tired of the anecdotal, trust me, bro, type of answers where we have to say, hey, I heard from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend that this happened. And I could understand the anger and the supposition that goes along with that. But in the end, we have to realize that there are things that David Grusch can't say to us as much as we want him to. The most he ever said was to Ross Coulthard. And that was in that 7-hour interview, which can be found on YouTube, by the way. Okay. So I have a real, not disdain, but a real bone to pick with the UFO community by calling him a grifter, by calling him somebody who's just, playing disclosure for dollars. To me, that's not disclosure for dollars. Disclosure for dollars is other people in this field who are playing a threat narrative, saying that we got to protect pilots. We have to protect our airspace. And if we don't, if you don't hire my company, or my company is prepared to help out in this situation, that's grifting for dollars. That is grifting for contracts and government contracts, creating a business where there is no threat. And as we heard from Arrowhead, Sean Kirkpatrick recently, there is no threat in the United States airspace. We're going to continue this conversation. Grifting for dollars in the UFO community. What is evidence? What are sources? We're going to continue it all with Mr. Rob G, talking UFOs all night long here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Hi, Kathy Evans. How you doing? And hi, Knight Rider. Hi, Kevin Clark. Oh, look who it is.
Grantavius.
Look at the lip blade coming in. Look at the lip blade. Oh, he hasn't got his mic popped in yet.
Yo, Van Gogh.
Look at that lip blade. Just touch it for us a little bit. I know you can hear me.
One moment. I'm having audio issues with the headphone.
All right.
Huh.
Jeremy Jones, it has nothing to do with whether or not Grusch is a likable guy. It's the evidence and the people I've talked to behind the scenes who give me my opinion on whether or not the guy is the real deal or not.
Yeah. Oh man, I have a problem with people in the UFO community debunking and doing this type of thing, man. It doesn't make sense. Like, do you want to get there or not? Do you want to get there? Let's be reasonable.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'll bring that up. I will bring that up when we come back from the break, okay? Hi, Susie B. How are you?
Susie B.
Spider Grandmother, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Grant, can you hear us? Now, give that lip blade a little rub for us there, buddy. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. What do you think of my beard, Grant?
Oh, I love it. It looks great. And I heard you're growing out your hair with your beard. Is that what's going on?
I'm not going as long as I used to,
Hmm.
but I'm going to grow it out a couple of inches.
Yeah, it looks good. Good winter wear, my man.
Dude, it's already cold up here. Lex Diaz, how you doing? And who else do we have coming in here? Pays Parker. Jennifer Patterson, good to see you. Robert Anthony, thank you for joining us. Ozzy Ange, are you coming to Reno May 10th through 12th? The gorgeous and talented Kim Jellin, who just finished brushing and flossing for the third time today. She is now ready to enjoy the show.
Grantavius Flavius Maximus.
I love you, brother. I've missed you so much. You have no idea.
Give me a call later, Toots.
All right.
Sold.
Sovereign Farts, how you doing? And by the way, how accurate was my prediction of Kim Jellin? Look at that. I did just finish brushing and flossing. Look at that. Freaking awesome. Yes. Well, we hope to see you there, Ozzy Ange. So we get more than 20 minutes with you this time. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you to Cat Chaser for the super chats tonight, kicking things off. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Thank you to everybody who has hit subscribe and rang that bell. We very much appreciate the love. And yeah, Cat or Spookles, if you're listening, that's perfect. And let's see here. Remember, you could go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Remember, folks, we do not have ugly swag. We got stuff that you actually want to wear and you'll be proud to wear out. It's not ugly. It's not gaudy. Okay. It's not like Dirty Filth's hands after a night of macrame. Okay. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, please check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can listen to us on any major podcast network, from Spotify to iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, and every major network in between. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and join our Space Travelers Club on Patreon. We're talking UFOs tonight. What is going on? Grifting, sources, everything in between. Mr. Rob G is with us from After Hours on Spaced Out Radio, and former host, going to be future host, Grant Tavius Maximus, Grant Baker. Thank you for coming on in, man. Appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure, my friend.
We're going to get into this conversation, grifting and sources. In your opinion, Grant, what is grifting in the UFO world? Because we got a lot of people calling everybody out, from Elizondo to David Grusch to Chris Mellon to anybody who seems to be supportive of the UFO phenomena, being accused as grifters at disclosure for dollars. Now, to me, disclosure for dollars means something completely different, and that are all these companies who are trying to line up and get government contracts on the UFO world by sharing one thing in common, that UFOs are a threat, even though recently Arrow's head, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, came out and stated, no, there's nothing that shows this is a threat to our airspace in America. What's your thoughts, Grant?
Oh my goodness. When it comes to the threat narrative, I mean, I don't believe that UFOs are a threat. If they were, they would have been a threat a long time ago. And the whole grifting thing, you know, when this whole thing comes out, give it the next 12 to 24 months, where everybody's kind of getting all this hype about we're going to have the actual quote unquote disclosure, which, you know, we are the disclosure. But when it comes to grifting, the initial part of your question is that's exactly what everybody's going to do. They're trying to make money on this. Just like Arrow doesn't have any kind of funding, or hasn't as of yet. And there was verbiage in the NDAA where now they're going to start getting funding. Well, once this whole thing comes out, how many podcasts are going to come out, or radio shows? Well, not radio shows, but YouTube shows and podcasts are to come out where everybody in the world is going to be right on this bandwagon. Well, a lot of them have already missed the boat, but you know, I don't think to talk about your last part of the question, where it is a national security threat. It is my belief system, and this is something that I believe wholeheartedly, where if it is a UAP, when it comes to those, I believe that they're talking about things that may or may not be man-made. And if they're man-made, then yes, there is a security threat, because at that point, we're talking about something that us down here in the USA, we don't have this technology. And if it's somebody else that does, then guess what? we're at a loss there. But when it comes to UFOs, they've been around. There's cave paintings of UFOs. It's been around for thousands of years. If they were a national threat, we would have known about it much long ago. So
I agree. What do you think there, Rob?
Well, I mean, when it comes to grifting, right? So, I mean, where's the grift? That's first I would want to know that. Like, where's the David Grusch grift? Is it because of the book signings? I mean, the book deals rather. I'm a person that doesn't have a problem with someone who had inside knowledge writing a book about it. I'd like to read that book. I feel the same way with Lou Elizondo. So I don't see the grift. I don't know where the grift is at. And then as far as you talked before the break about the evidence. So the evidence, okay, if David Grusch had the ability, if he just today said, okay, I'll tell the public where these craft are being held, what would you do with that information? Like, what would you do? Would you go to the contractor's door? Would you go knock on the door? Like, what would you really do? You just feel better knowing the information. So that's why, as far as I don't put a lot of stock in the fact or get upset about the fact that he's not telling us where these things are. He's telling someone, and it happens to be in the skiff. So the only people that can really do something with that information are the people he's going to talk to in the room. No one else can do anything with that data. So nothing to be upset for. It's I think it's a nothing burger. And I just don't see the grift. I don't get where people are saying there's a grift. So
Well,
with that,
you take the angle, and I apologize for cutting you off.
yeah,
You
you're
take
good.
of Lou Elizondo, who's going to be writing a book on this. Okay. Now, I talked to Lou this past week, and I had mentioned to him regarding, hey, are you ever coming back? And he kind of laughs and he goes, I just can't right now. Okay. And he said, please don't say why. So I'm not going to repeat what he said because that's out of respect for the man. Okay. And that's how you keep sources, is by respecting their privacy. He said, but when we do come back, he goes, there's going to be a lot of information. We've heard a lot of talk about Lou Elizondo bringing out his book, okay, which would obviously run for a lot. And now a lot of people are saying, well, he's going to be grifting on that book. Well, no, it's not grifting. He's allowed to write a book. Anybody is allowed to write a book. I'm writing a book, which I haven't written in a couple of years because I'm waiting for myself to find some time to finish it. Okay. I mean, you take Dirty Filth, our artist here. He's got a book out on his cartoons. Is that grifting? Is that grifting for UFO dollars because he has a love and a passion for these topics, so he draws cartoons for them? Is that grifting the UFO community? Okay. Are we grifting the UFO community because SOR is a business and a radio show that is on 8 different radio stations across North America? And thank you for that, radio stations. We are looking for more. Okay. There's my grift right there. We are looking for more. But nonetheless, I mean, what is grifting? Okay, just because you're getting paid to do something. Okay, if Brad Pitt or if Rob Gronkowski or Tom Brady gets offered $1 million deal for their life story, is that grifting the NFL community for the dollars? No, it's because there is a demand for their efforts. It's just like sports for a second. Grant, let me just make this point and I'll come to you. It's just like sports, okay, where you get a player who's a free agent, and let's say, let's pick a sport here. Let's pick baseball. Let's say Freddie Freeman of the LA Dodgers becomes a free agent. He's one of the top hitters, top first baseman in the Major League Baseball. Good Canadian kid. Okay. And let's say he gets an offer from the New York Yankees at 5 years, at $125 million, $25 million a year. Let's say the Dodgers offer him 6 years at 145, and the pick a team, San Francisco Giants, offer him 6 years at 200 million. Well, because he's probably going to take the 200 million, is that grifting? No,
Right.
it's business. It's business. So what happens with somebody like Elizondo, when they sign a book deal, they've put it out there that, hey, I've got an amazing story. These publishers are going crazy over it, and it becomes a bidding war. Whether it's like sports free agency, whether it's like real estate, when you're in a hot market area, what's the difference? There is no difference. It's not grifting. It's about making a living. And if somebody's going to pay you for your life story, why wouldn't you take it? Somebody offered me $1 million to do this radio show. Let's say Sirius XM came up to me and said, we'll pay you $1 million a year to do this radio show, or $1 million over 3 years to do this radio show on Sirius XM. Am I grifting if I take that? No, that's a job opportunity that they have the faith in me to offer me that type of bread in order to do the job. Grant, you had a point you wanted to make.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, when you look up grifting, it's basically you're swindling money is the generic version of it. So the only people that I can see right now that is making any kind of money is usually black ops programs and stuff that goes on in the government, and the people that are paying those money are the taxpayers. So the real grifters, I think in this case, are the people that actually know the truth and are either doing the reverse engineering, the things that we've all heard about, especially with Grusch saying that there were pilots. I wanted to use the right term there that he used. There was actually pilots or biologics on those craft, you know, and so whoever has those are the real grifters, because that's where the money's going, but we don't see it. It's not in the limelight. Everything's done secret squirrel style. So yeah, if you get offered $1 million to go on any of the primetime avenues or media sites, then no, that you're right. It is a job opportunity. So who's the real grifters here? Lou Elizondo wants to write a book, and you know what? Grant Cameron's written probably 30 of them. Doesn't make him a grifter. And I can't wait to hear your book, by the way. I want to see it.
I know you do. Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing with everything Grant said there. You know, if you want to define grifter, like and I talked about this the other day. So it's just like Grant said, but it's a person that is trying to financially gain by taking advantage of a situation, like you said, a swindler. So you do have grifters in ufology. You have people who draw you in and then make you pay for access. So those would be examples of grifters. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything, pay for it, and then I'll tell you. Those are grifters. Someone who has come out and given you all the information that they can legally give you, and then because of their experience, they decide to write a book about it. That's not a grifter. So I think people just have the definition incorrect. So they're calling someone who is, taking the opportunity to monetize their experience a grifter, when it's actually the one who is holding the information behind a paywall. You know what I mean? So if you look at those two things, two different situations, and I'm sure you know who the ones that are out there that are holding stuff behind a paywall, and it's not David Grusch and it's not Lou Elizondo. They did their parts for the movement, and their job is done there. So they get to kick back, retire, write a book about it, make a movie about it. They get to do that at this point. So, and so knowing that, now the focus needs to shift. So we need everybody. So quit doing all the grifter talk and let's everybody get behind the moment and get behind the guys that we're supposed to be behind, and let's push this thing over the line. Because if we didn't have News Nation interview this year with David Grusch, if we didn't have Burchett and those guys pushing for these hearings and getting these hearings done, where would we be this year? Where would the process be this year? We had nothing but that, and that has actually, like you said earlier, Dave, made such an impact that it's standing up there with the biggest stories in the world right now, even overshadowing the distractions. So let's refocus our focus.
Look, we're not talking about people like Corey Good or David Wilcox who have really pushed the limits on trying to make money off of people in a very potentially allegedly fabricated way. Okay, we're not like Stephen Greer, who is allegedly charging up to $3,500 for a weekend to learn how to contact UFOs and aliens. Okay, if you want that secret, I've given that secret out for free on this show, and I'm not charging $3,500 for a weekend to do it, because it's very easy to do it if you want to do it. Okay, but what we are talking about is people who have information who are using it. Okay, now there is word, to look at the other side of things. There is word now that I'm hearing, and I haven't got it confirmed yet, that allegedly David Grusch is charging a lot of money for interviews now outside of certain press. It could be up to $3,000 for an hour's interview. Okay, is that grifting? I don't think so. I don't think so. Everybody's time is worth something. Okay. And there are a lot of people out there who will say, well, he's grifting for dollars. If you want to talk to him, you got to pay for it. No, I can look at it this way. What he's doing is he's pushing off all of the small town or the small podcast media that's out there. And there are thousands of media shows out there. He's pushing them all the way, saying, look, if you can't, if your numbers don't support it, you want me to come on your show, knowing that you're going to make a lot of money on YouTube, probably get 1 million+ views on that episode, which means you're going to be, let's see, I believe it's 10 cents per view on YouTube at 1 million views. That's a lot of money. If you're going to be making that money off of me, I need something. Okay, because the majority of YouTube channels out there do not have 50,000 subscribers. I look at ours, we're 92 subscribers away from 24,000, and we're a bigger channel on the YouTube side for interview style. So, I mean, there's a lot of controversy around that. Okay, but what it's doing is it's pushing people away, so that way people who are invested in media, say they have them. You think he's going to charge 33 grand for an interview, if this is allegedly true, for somebody who has 2-3 million subscribers, 4 million subscribers? He's not going to charge that because he's getting the viewership of it. And if somebody wants to pay to play, I don't pay. In my 25 years of journalism, I've never paid for an interview. I never will pay for an interview. Okay? But there are people out there who may want to do that, and good on them for it. Right? But it's not grifting. We're going to shift subjects here to sources. Because one of the other things, a good friend of this show, Matt Ford from the Good Trouble Show, he's been taking a lot of heat on media, on social media recently, because he's using the word sources. Everybody from any average TikToker or YouTuber or Twitter follower is going at him. People like the Black Vault are going at him. Bigger channel about sources. Now, as a journalist, I know this. I've never burnt a source, nor would I ever. Because if I burn that source, basically what I've done is I've closed that door to information. And the key to getting the information out, even though the public may not like it, Grant, is the fact that if I'm going to be able to get that source out to speak to me and say, hey, you didn't get it from me, but on this date, there's such and such happening, I'm going to run with that because I trust my source. I'm going to confirm it, but we seem to have a real dismay for anybody who has sources within the UFO community or the government community regarding this subject, Grant.
Well, I mean, I've seen some of the people that you've talked to as sources, and I don't know who Matt Ford really is. I've heard his name come up a few times. I've actually not taken the time to look into him. So honestly, look at one of the people that's been on your podcast. You have a source that was Lou Elizondo at one time. You have just yesterday or the day before, Bassett was on here, and then you also had Grant Cameron. I mean, you have sources all over the place. Of course, I know you're not going to let them the cat out of the bag when they want their own privacy. You're going to say, hey, I'm getting this from a good source. It's a trusted source. And people tend to believe you. I mean, you're an honest guy. So I've heard many other podcasters, so to speak, have their source, and people don't ever question it. It's like, hey, I got this from a good friend of mine who I can't name right now, but this is what's going on. It happens all the time. So if people got a problem with that, or they're just tearing Matt up for no reason at all, it sounds like they got other vendettas against him to me. I mean, I don't honestly know personally. I'm going to have to look this up, look him up, and see exactly who he is, what's he about.
It isn't so much about just Matt Ford. It's the UFO community. Like Gary Oki in our chat room says, sources equal fabrication. Not at all. Not at all. Okay? You have to look who is bringing the information. Okay? Let's say, for instance, Rob, let's say your dad or mom worked for the Pentagon, whatever, some alphabet agency of the Pentagon that was involved in UFOs. What would happen if all of a sudden you outed your mother or your father?
Right.
Okay. They're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their pension.
Yeah, it could put them at risk. Yeah.
Put them at jail, could put your career at risk. This is why we have to baby, as journalists, we have to baby the sources and play a little bit of a game to get that information out. Because, Rob, let's say it is your mom or your dad who works at the Pentagon. Let's say they work for the NSA and they're involved in the UFO story. And they say to you, by the way, we're expecting a landing on February 25th, 2027. We've been told, we've got this message. And you come out and you say, hey, my mom who works for the NSA on the UFO world has told me that February 25th, 2027, we are going to get a UFO landing right at pick a place. Safeco Field in Seattle is where they're landing. Right during, they got the roof off. They're going to land at Safeco Field. The media is going to be all invited to sit in the stands and watch the landing happen. Okay. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Your mother's or father's career is over. They're going to hate you for ruining their career. You're going to get in trouble. Their finances are dead. This is the reality of why journalists protect the sources. We have to. And there is no grifter's heaven when it comes to the sources. Okay? There is nothing like that. Guys, we're going to continue this when we return. And Rob, we're going to kick things off with you, Rob G. from After Hours. Part-time host on After Hours. Grant Baker is with us as well. Sources. Do you buy them? Do you not?
He's over here.
And there we
He's
go.
right here. There he is.
Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Oh, dead fish killed a scorpion today. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't like scorpions. I'm good.
Right. Nothing good about those guys.
I don't
We
like
don't have-
anything with more than 4 legs.
And
We don't have them up here.
a vicious stinger on the back.
Nope. Hey, Gary Oakey, I just want to make a point to you. I'm pointing you out because I think you're bringing up good points. I'm not doing it as cheap shot to you that I'm trying to point you out and say you're wrong. I'm not doing that. Please don't take it that way. I am doing it because I think you're bringing up a lot of good points that the UFO community has, but I'm just trying to show a different side here of how it works. See, part of the problem that we have, excuse me, guys, is 99% of the podcasts. Okay, let me rephrase this. How can I do this? Whether you like the mainstream media or not, when somebody goes to journalism school, they are not tainted by the outlet that they work for yet. They're coming in wanting to tell stories, wanting to call things down the middle, just like they've been trained in broadcasting school or journalism school. Okay. Then when they get to their network or their newspaper or their radio station, that's where what we see is we see that station's bias, whether it's on the left or on the right or more centralist, come into play. And that's where we see those reporters not become journalists anymore. They transform from journalists to infotainment people, much like Who Works for Entertainment Tonight or Inside Edition type of garbage. Now, for those who are still trying to do it right, okay, they have what they call a beat. So when I was on the beat, my beat was sports. I had the greatest beat ever. I got into every hockey game, football game, baseball game. I golfed for free. That's what I did. So the point that I'm getting at is for a lot of journalists out there, our job is to call it down the middle. And not a lot do that these days. So when you all of a sudden get a bunch of people out there, like 99%, or let's say 97% of the YouTube channels or podcasts out there, where somebody does not have any training in journalism or an understanding of the field, this is where we get into a lot of the arguments that people have regarding this subject, because people have their own agendas, they have their own thoughts on everything, and that's what they attract their audience to. So it's a real hard fine line there about trying to figure out who is real, who is not. This is why a few years ago I got in a lot of trouble and a lot of heat from people when I was calling out fake journalists. People who had, uh, journalist on their resume, but they never spent a day in journalism. They've never worked a day in journalism. They don't know anything about journalism. And it really is a lost art, because nowadays with podcasting, with YouTube channels, anybody can act like a journalist. But there are rules to it. There's a professional way of doing it. Now, there are great hosts out there. There's fantastic hosts out there. who are asking very important questions. Like Joe Rogan is not a journalist, but his podcast is amazing. At least I think so, whether you like him or not. That's why he's getting millions of hits per day regarding his show and making $100 million contract with Spotify because people want to be entertained by him. Right? So I just want to point that out. And a big thank you tonight to W. Decker, Louie, and Cat Chaser for the super chats. Very much appreciate that. We thank you for the love and support of what we are doing.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So, anyways, there are good shows out there. Okay. And there are, put it this way, there are shows out there I don't listen to because I don't like the topics, but the host is amazing. The host is a digger. Okay. The host is doing really well. They're not a journalist, but they're doing very, very good work. Okay. There's a lot of good work being put out there, and that does have to be commended as well. It's not just a journalism field, but there is a difference between the two. Thank you again, Forrest Louie, for another great super chat. And remember, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Okay. We do not have ugly swag, people. F yous, Eddie. F you. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jeremiad. Jeremiad is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Here we go. We have Grant Baker from After Hours. We have Mr. Rob G., the host of After Hours, coming on in to talk all things UFO tonight. And we really appreciate you guys coming on in. Right before the break, we're talking about sources where a lot of media outlets, YouTube channels, getting in heat from the UFO community for using the word sources as they try to open up the investigative field, trying to bring information from the UFO world, saying that sources are fake, saying that sources can't be trusted. Who are the sources out there that you are talking to? But there's a catch with that. And Rob, I want to start with you with the catch. I mean, I was giving you the example of, let's say your mom or dad worked for the NSA at the Pentagon on the UFO front. And they gave you the story and you outed them. There's a lot of issues that would happen there, Rob.
True stuff, Dave. And here's how it should be looked at. For one, why would they tell you? Why, what benefit is it to them to give you their source? You have to ask yourself seriously that question. Second of all, it troubles me that the same people that worry about a journalist sources or YouTuber sources applaud the Whistleblower Protection Act when it's the same thing. The whistleblowers are sources that are coming to divulge the information that is needed to push this thing forward. And where's the difference? How is it that you can look at a journalist and point them out and call them liars because they won't tell you their sources, but then say, hey, that's great that we have the Whistleblower Protection Act. It's we need more of that. I mean, yeah, they're the same thing. So, that's how I look at it. And I think that people really need to step back. I think it's just rush to judgment, and it's just a lot of just talking before thinking going on out here. And I don't really feel like it's relevant for you to know who someone's source is, because once again, what do you do with that information? Okay, they give you the source. You're going to vet the source now, or what are you going to dig in and hire a private investigator to find, you know what I mean? Like, really, what are we doing? What's the purpose of that? So we have to bring it back to, you know what I mean? It's a lot of extra stuff going on in ufology, which is why we are having all these problems getting along and focusing on the important things. And this isn't an important thing. A source for you is not important for you to know.
Well, to some people, though, it is important because what it does is it puts a frame around the information. The problem is when somebody comes out, the immediate thing is now they're a grifter.
Rabbit holes.
There is a no-win situation for a source to come out. So let's say, Grant, example for you, let's say that you are an agent that's been working on this story and you decide to come out. What are the implications? I mean, there's a lot riding on the line there, because not only are you taking a chance with national security, but you're also now potentially going to get your butt chewed off by the UFO community, who is going to learn everything about you, including your address, where your kids go to school, the name of your dogs, your bank account numbers. No, I'm teasing on that, but who knows the way the doxing goes around today. Okay. But they are going to come at you like Mike Tyson in his prime to find out information. Is that even worth it? Is that why maybe we haven't seen more whistleblowers come out after what they've seen David Grusch go through publicly, or Lou Elizondo?
I believe you're correct in that. I mean, David Grusch, he is still getting flack for doing what happened. I mean, if anybody that's following that man, once he became a whistleblower, they were trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, they were badgering the man, and he took the right avenues. He did exactly the right thing where they were forced to stop, and especially when he went to certain people that he knew and took the information that he knew that he had to the IG and other people. I mean, when you have an old inspector general, or was it an inspector general that actually tried his case or actually backed him up? Either way, he had the perfect people around him to help him, but they're still badgering him because there's other ways to badger people besides just right up front. Second, he's not giving away his sources. Now, there are certain times where he will, in a skiff or in other ways, like to the IG. Now, if someone like myself had done what he'd done, that is a scary proposition. Not only are you making some other people upset that you're doing this because they don't want this information out, and there's a few reasons why they don't want this out, but that's neither here nor there. The biggest thing is, if I was in his shoes, I would be scared. Like that was a big jump. And the sources that I had, I probably wouldn't give up. The fact that I'm putting my own life and my kids' lives in jeopardy, and so to speak, I mean, it's tough. It's really tough what he did. And I have a lot of respect for him to do it. Even like Lou Elizondo, when he came out, he got a lot of flack as well. Anybody that's going to do this is going to get a lot of flack. And at that point, it doesn't matter who your sources are. He had all the right credentials. He was vetted, and so was everybody else. He did the right thing in my eyes, and I'm really happy that he did it. At least it wasn't me. I would not envy his position right now.
Well, I'm reading the comments in our chat room, and there's one by Jeremy here. I believe it's Jeremy. Let me find it. Sorry, I don't think anyone is in a position to tell someone they can't question a source. I don't think it's about questioning the source. I think it's about giving up the source, which a lot of people are putting pressure on these days. All
Let
right.
me ask you a question then.
Sources should be questioned. You can question a source all you want, but if you are saying that the person is not legit because they haven't come out publicly about it, you have to think about what they can lose versus cutting off the information line. If we need that, if they are putting together an information line, okay, I can remember a story I broke in sports, okay, where our Canadian Football League team, the head coach, during one of the conference finals, refused to get Gatorated. Okay, so he caught the players. They were about to Gatorade him after the big win, going to the Grey Cup, and he yelled at them, "No, no, 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 no." Coaches don't normally do that. So I talked to a couple players that I know, and what did they say? They said, "Look, you didn't hear it from me, okay? But the reason why coach didn't want to get Gatorated is because after the season, he's having quadruple bypass surgery, and he didn't want the shock to affect his heart. And that's why he didn't get Gatorated." Guess what? I confirmed the story with another source, and I ran the story of why the coach didn't get Gatorated. Okay, I didn't give up my insiders. Oh, by the way, coach, such and such player told me that you were having some heart issues. Okay, that's not the way it works. So do I give up my sources and get those guys in trouble with their head coach? No, I don't. I run the story because I've had now more than 2 players tell me that that's the truth. That's the way it's supposed to work. But yes, by far, everybody should be questioned. It's whether or not they come out and the pressure of bringing them out. Grant, you had something you wanted to say there.
You pretty much answered it, because if I give up my sources on something, other people that are watching you and watching them, when you go to them for some type of information, they're not going to give it to you because they're going to think you're going to give them up. So it's kind of like I'm not going to give up my source because I need that news line. I need that line where if something comes down the chain, I have it to present to everybody else. Trust the process. It's a process, and that's all it is.
Okay, but Rob, I want to get your opinion on this. Non-human in our YouTube channel stating 90 plus years of lies, Dave, will do that to the community. That's another good point, that people are fed up. They know that there's
I agree.
Since Roswell and beyond. I mean, they know that it's not swamp gas coming out of New Jersey. They know that it's not Venus in the sky that is actually hovering over top of their house and shooting beams down onto their lawn. Okay, that wasn't Venus or Jupiter that blew Travis Walton away and made him disappear for 5 days before returning. I could understand the anger and the anguish that the UFO community has, not only as a journalist, but as an experiencer as well. So, I mean, that is the other side of the argument, where the UFO community is like, we're done with this crap. Either give it up or go away.
Right. I agree. And I know there's frustration out there. There's in that it's and I get it, right? I get it. So just like some people want to see proof, and they need to see something, and they won't show me. So it's not good enough for you to tell me that you saw it. Show me. So I know that there's people out there that are frustrated, and I think this source argument is more of the same of that. You know what I mean? And I can understand where that comes from, but it just to address what I'm addressing here in the chat, is it the only question I'm asking you is it really important for you to know the source? All that's going to do is make you feel better inside, right? It's like, oh, okay, I know who the source is. I was able to vet the source. But what does that really do besides make you feel good on the inside or feel better about yourself? You know, and quench that thirst for just wanting to know who the source is. How do you take that information and project back out to help all of us get to, you know, to enlighten everyone else to know that these things are real? You know what I mean? And then what if the source has a source? Usually that's the case. You found that out with Grusch coming out. Thought Grusch was the source, but actually Grusch had a source. And then once we get those guys under the spotlight, then we might find out that those guys have a source. So when does it end? I mean, I understand, yeah, Jeremy and Lynn's credibility. I do get that. But at the end of the day, it's a waste of time to worry about those sort of things. You know what I mean? Look at what we have, look at what we know, and let's take the tidbits that we get from these different situations and put the puzzle together instead of worrying about things like that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong for wanting to know the source. I'm just asking you why spend the time on that? And as simple as that. And I understand it comes from frustration, Dave. And there's a lot of that in ufology. There's people who have gone this entire 70, 80 years that this has been going on and haven't gotten answers, haven't had a sighting themselves. So there's a lot of pent up frustration in this thing. And that's why we get together, so we can talk through this. And it's just a conversation that we're having. So not saying anyone out there is wrong for anything that you're saying. I'm just asking you a question. We pose a question, and now I'm asking you. Please explain it to me, and then that's how we have dialogue. So thank you very much for letting me say that, Dave.
No, I can appreciate that. You know, and granted, also goes with the fact that the way governments have been acting around the world, we can't trust a politician anymore, because to them it's all about an election and winning that election. They will say, excuse me, they will say what they want, when they want, how they want it. Okay? And that's frustrating, because if it gets them an extra couple votes, which the UFO community will be supporting Tim Burchett, they may not agree with his politics, but they agree with him on the UFO front. Guess what? Those few extra votes may get him elected again. And
Yeah, absolutely. It is an issue. And right now we're coming into, 2024 is going to be one crazy little election. And it's not little, it's massive. It's not just the presidential election we're dealing with, it's much more than that. And so in order to get votes, yeah, you're right. They're going to say whatever they got to say. And it's unfortunate, because we have a president down here in the States that is tight-lipped, keeps everything close to the chest, doesn't even want to say anything about UAPs, UFOs, aliens, any kind of contact from somebody other than us. He'll say, "Oh, go ask Obama about that," or whatever. And it's going to be a very interesting time when everybody starts going through their debates and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm about," and doing their little advertisements on TV that you're going to see. And you're going to find that one or two people on there. They're going to be like, "Hey, I want to know the truth. I want disclosure. I'm here for you guys." And how many people out there have had experiences that don't say anything, or people that do say something, or watch your show or any other show that's out there, or listen to it on the radio like I do? Those people are going to be like, "They're talking to me. I'm going to vote for that guy." It's kind of upsetting that they would use something like that. And I mean, it's a tactic. They always have done that. Say this, and we'll get the votes. And then when the time comes, it's just a hogwash is all it is. So yeah, no, I'm in agreement. you have over 75 years, 77 years of hogwash that's been coming out of my particular government that I live under right now. And yeah, you got a lot of people out there that, just like Rob was saying, it's very frustrating, and they're going to use it to take advantage of the people, to take advantage of the votes. But everybody that's out there, I would suggest one thing: listen to what they're saying and determine for yourself. Is this somebody I want to vote for just because he's saying that he's going to have disclosure? Or is it somebody I'm going to vote for because he has good political views that match my own? I'm not very a political guy by any means, and I'm just going to let you all know that. But it would be hard pressed for myself if someone's like, hey, I have the videos, all 97 hours of them, from thousands of jet fighter pilots and all our sensor data, and we're going to give this out. I'm going to be like, ooh, that's hard for me to say no to. I think it would be for anybody, but just, don't look at what's right in front of your face. Do a little bit more research before you jump down that rabbit hole.
The question that we also have to ask, and this will carry over into the next half hour, is how do we trust what is coming out? The big thing is we don't know, and I said this with Tim Senor last night. They've coined the term UAP, which can mean everything from Chinese drones to UFOs. Okay. Although we have been hearing recently a lot of military people and a lot of government officials start using the term UFOs again differently than UAP. So that tells me that UFOs are non-man-made objects, not from here. UAP are from here. We're not going to get into that argument again, okay, because it's an argument that, many players in this field just don't want to have. They want to buy into the government UAP thing. Makes them sound more credible. That being said, 70 plus years of lying to the public around this subject. And I think what matters is there are real questions on what this topic can bring. What's it going to do to the religious side? Not just in the United States, okay? But there's a lot of religious people out there outside of North America who are still, believing that anything that comes from the sky is demonic. We got to worry about the economy. We got to worry about jobs. Okay, what happens to the oil industry if free energy comes out? It's millions of jobs around the world. Okay, where do people get their money from? Okay, what happens to, cities like Dubai if free energy comes about? There's a lot of things that we need to worry about. Never mind the fact of what does the government know? What if the government, and this is hypothetical, what if the government has a list of people who have been taken and you're on that list? Your name is on that list and you don't know about it. And the government knows how many times you've been taken, where you've gone, who's taken you. You don't have a life. There are many people out there who do not have a good life because of their experiences. They can't sleep at night out of fear. They can't get a job because they can't wake up in the morning because they don't go to bed until it's daylight. Now, a lot of people will say, well, work the night shift. Aliens don't care. They'll still come get you. Doesn't matter whether you're working the night shift at Walmart, night shift at the mine, night shift as a security person, or you're sleeping in your bed. They don't care. The secrets are what has upset the people. We're going to get more into that with Mr. Rob G. from After Hours, our big host, and part-time host on After Hours, Grant Baker, is with us on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue this great conversation when we return. Why is there no trust with the government when it comes to UFOs? What are they hiding? There's a lot of hypotheticals that we're going to get into that'll make you go, We got these guys until the top of the hour. We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Hi, Neil Warden. How you doing? Good morning to you.
Neil, welcome.
AZ Watts, good to have you here. Who else is? Damian K, good to see you again. Who else has joined in? I think we're caught up.
There you go.
Kaysen Lee. No, we're not caught up. Kaysen Lee had to sneak in there without letting us know.
Did you get Charles Kerr?
Charles Kerr I got earlier.
Okay.
I don't know how you remember all this. That's mind-boggling.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm. No, Dave never worked on the railroad. I'm having fun tonight, guys. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
For real, definitely.
Word one is nice to have you back.
Yeah, you got me thinking with that whole Dubai thing, man. Like, holy smokes. But I don't know. We'll go over this later.
Yeah. Save it for prime time.
Oh, yeah.
Kaysen, where are you from again? I got to put you up on the map. Who's from out of North America here tonight? See the map behind me, people? This is where I put the marks. Let's see what Dirty Filth is up to here. Dirty, people keep filming my craft. The arrow guys won't validate my parking anymore. Oh, they're back at the bar, eh?
Favorite spot.
That's one of the few
That's
places.
hilarious.
I love you, Phil. Dang it. I need to talk to you more often.
That seems like the conversation they would have too.
In between trying to make some money, I don't know, they're just gray aliens. If anything, the gray aliens are grifters.
CS, nice to see you.
Oh, that's funny.
Man, if the government is listening to this, I just want to say on the summer of 1985, when I had my encounter, if I'm on that list, I want to see it.
Yeah, that's Dave. That list, man. It might
by
be
the
a real
way,
thing.
Guys, we have to do something here if you guys want to join me. It's Area 51's birthday tonight.
Oh, one.
So that means we got to sing to him. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
dear Area 51, the homie.
Happy
birthday to you. Yeah, Juan came and hung out with me the other night, man. Shout out to Area 51. You didn't tell me it was your birthday coming up, dude. What's up, man?
There we go. Everybody in our chat room who has a birthday, I made it a rule here about a year ago that if it's your birthday, I'm gonna sing happy birthday to you. It's only
the bad thing is
hold on. Is that a blob alert?
Whiskey. It was Whiskey decided to jump up here for a minute.
Oh, damn it. Well, Whiskey's still good action.
Yeah.
She's out of control, I can tell you that much. Same with the
Warden
boys.
Dragon, how are you?
It's all right. My two dogs think they got to be on the show too.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Your
bring
dogs
mine
eat better
on one day.
mustaches.
Oh yeah,
Fighting words, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
See the mustache?
The dog doesn't even know where it's looking. Its eyes are pointed in two directions.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dirty Filth.
Take care,
Love
Phil.
you, brother.
Love you, buddy. See, this is why I'm going to show you guys something here, okay? This is why we sing happy birthday. You guys are the only ones that sang to me today. Yeah.
That's what's
Happy
up.
birthday. We love you, man. We love you. Thank you for being here. All right. Big shout out to Louis ×2, W. Decker, and Cat Chaser for the super chats. And if you're new here, please hit subscribe, ring that bell. And here we go, everybody. Halfway point of Spaced Out Radio is now passed on by. Here's the second half. My name is Dave Scott, your host of Spaced Out Radio. We love you guys, each and every one of you, for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our archives. They're always free. Not like other channels out there. Our archives are free. Always. They always will be. Go to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Only thing I want in return is hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join me on Patreon and join the SOR Space Travelers Club. All right. Mr. Rob G. from After Hours are on our YouTube channel, and part-time co-host Grant Baker are with us, and we're talking about what does the government know? What are they hiding? Is that what is causing the issues that we have with any type of news coming out of the Pentagon, out of Washington, D.C.? Is it at that point? Grant, you wanted to make a comment about this.
Yeah, when it comes to the United States government, they've been hiding stuff for so stinking long, it's not even funny. And I was listening to your show last night that it was like a scaffolding where they're trying to get everything ready to break the news. But when you have that much that you're hiding from the people, that much over 75, 77 years, are they ever going to come out with it? How we know everything that they're hiding? When you ask them, I mean, I can go on for hours about this, so I better not. But yeah, no, they're definitely hiding something. They have been hiding something. We've caught them hiding something. We've had multiple whistleblowers saying the same thing. How many sources do you really need when you have multiple people saying the exact same thing? Not everybody can be wrong, folks.
Very true.
Yeah.
Rob, your comment.
Yeah, no, I always go back to Roswell 47, man. The government told you their initial statement was they have crash crap, a crash disk. They said it. That's it right there. Regardless on, they came back and started the cover up after that. Their initial statement was they have it. So what other proof do you need at that point? They admitted it, 1947. Go back and check it out.
Here's the big thing. Part of my confusion of it all, and this is just my opinion, is what are they hiding? And what is so illogical to humanity that they cannot tell us what they are hiding? Is it technology that is being played with at places like Area 51? Is it the fact that we do have aliens? What is the fact? And like I said prior to the break, what if as an experiencer, they have a list of people's names who've been taken? That could open up lawsuits. That could open up a lot of issues, especially for politicians who have lied under the name of the law to hide this secret, the secret that's going to affect humanity. There are very few stories that are going to affect every person on this planet. Jesus Christ coming down from the heavens would be one. Armageddon would be another one. Okay? Life out there coming to Earth and being confirmed that it is here is a big one. Very few stories will affect every single person on this planet. And I think that is a big one. I mean, I look at it like this, and you may agree with me or you may not. I look up at the sky and I see a plane flying over. Let's say it's a 737. How antiquated is that technology? The shape of the plane is 70 years old. Okay? They're still flying subsonic when we know that we can be flying at supersonic speed to improve flight travel. Instead, and I realize that supersonic speed, because of fuel cost, does cost more. Okay? They're cramping us into the planes now, where the back half of the plane is more like a cargo bay for humans than it is actual comfort seating anymore. Aircraft today, for what we know, is old technology. In fact, you could even say outside of the technology, which is in the cockpit and in the safety of the aircraft, flying is actually degraded. Look, if you go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where the planes weren't as packed, okay, you got served quality food. Hell, you could even have a cigarette on board if you wanted, if you're a smoker. Now it's about jamming people into seats that are smaller than a stadium's. People are complaining about comfort. They don't care. It's a 5-hour flight. Stay comfortable. Try sitting beside one of us bigger human beings.
So I was gonna say, I thought I got bigger, but the planes got smaller. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
I'm the same way. I felt sorry for the young lady beside me flying to Vegas last year because I'm like, oh, Dave's gained a little weight coming into this aircraft this year. Felt sorry for her. But the point that I'm getting at is, if you look at aircraft, that is something that is extremely antiquated to where we should be in 2023. So what are the secrets? What does Lockheed Martin have? What does Raytheon have? What does Boeing have that they are not showing us? What if hypersonic speed is possible? Like Michael Schratt believes that we have aircraft flying above 5,000 miles an hour.
Well, just to kind of extrapolate on this, for anybody that doesn't know, the Wright brothers plane was first built and tested in 1903. So that's 120 years ago. And we're still basing all of our travels on the same flight characteristics that they came up with back then. When you said something about, we do have the technology to go hypersonic now, or supersonic, above the speed of sound. When we had the Concorde, it was able to do it. They had a little bit of a disaster with that. The way they're packing people in, logistically speaking, the price of fuel compared to what it was back, 50 years ago, when everybody was sitting at oak tables inside of a plane, smoking cigarettes and drinking great cocktails. Nowadays, you were shoved in these planes like sardines. Now, logistically speaking, how much is it more cost to go supersonic to get people going where they need to go faster, pack more people in? Is it worth the cost of fuel to go faster? Or are they just scalping us of money, is really what it boils down to. Now, the aircraft that, to swing this in full circle, the aircraft that we're seeing in the skies and the things that people are saying, I saw this move in these unnatural flight characteristics that literally go past our laws of physics. You even have Commander David Fravor saying, I would love to fly one of those because it is such an awesome sight. It's fantastic what these things can do. It would be great to have that technology. Do we have that technology ourselves? I don't know. Lockheed Martin might have it. Any of the other, contractors that are contracted out through the government might have it. Who knows? Your original question when you said, how is this going to affect the world? Well, the people that will get in trouble for lying, I think, you know what? We already know they're doing it. Like, it's okay. Just tell us the truth, and 90% of us will forgive them. And let's see what kind of technology we really have. Now, just like in the beginning of the show, in the intro, you have one of the presidents saying, the whole world would band together if there was some kind of common threat. Well, that's kind of the narrative they were going for. And I don't think that's quite the case of what they want to be going for. If we all find out that there's an intelligent being, an entity, or whatever it is, whatever they're hiding from us that they think that we should know, I think it's more than just the flight characteristics of these aircraft. I think it's more than the aircraft itself. I think it's even more than the crop circles and the people being taken aboard ships and being able to fly them. I think it's a lot more than that, and that's what they're ultimately scared of. Some of these things are physical, some may not be physical. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not there working on these craft. I wish I was. You had Bob Lazar who was talking about working on them and some of the things that he's described. So obviously, some of these things are physical. Just tell us the truth. Give everybody a pass and say, look, these people are old as dirt now. They're on their way out. Let them tell the truth. Don't prosecute them. Just let's all figure it out. And I'm sure that this is going to be such a huge paradigm shift in the world. It might actually bond us all together and be like, you know what? We're not alone in this universe. We're on this ball called Earth. We're all brothers and sisters, and we're all family. This is our place. Who are you? And this is our neighbor. Okay, now there's a difference there. Let's figure out how to keep the ball rolling and don't get so mad about the lying. Just let's hear the truth.
I agree with you. I think, the truth is, the problem is now you have people in Washington saying, can we handle the truth? That we are not alone. Okay. I don't believe that the government doesn't know where these are coming from, whether it's space or inner Earth or from other dimensions or time travel. I think it's a combination of probably almost all of them. But they know. They've had the signals. They've had the videos for years, the photographs for years since. Thank you, NASA, for covering that up. Okay, and I'm not getting into a NASA rant tonight. Absolutely not. Okay, too many people have had experiences with this unknown phenomena. And the funny part about it is they seem to know more than what the government will admit to. The government has its own employees and former employees like John Alexander, Hal Puthoff, okay, uh, Christopher Mellon, Lou Elizondo, Jim Semivan, and many others, Rob, who have discussed the merits of these topics. They know what's going on.
Dave, and I think you're the statement you made earlier when you were talking about that list. I'm gonna lean into that. So a lot of people think that the government are in direct contact with the ETs and are having dialogue with them. Some people believe, we don't know exactly what it is, but let me throw a scenario out there to kind of lends to your list theory. So what if they knew that let me start with this. So what if disclosure or confirmation, it wasn't really about us finding out that ETs are here, but they're worried about us finding out why they're here? Because think of a scenario where they are powerless. The government is powerless against these things, which we know they are because Our pilots can't match them in the sky, and they go to our nuclear sites, shut down nukes. So what if it was that they're coming here and they're essentially allowing them to do things like take people, like they're just allowing them to do it? And then you lean into like the missing 411, the David Paulides stuff, and and then tie that in there too. So what if they know, and that's why they're afraid to tell everybody, because once they confirm that these things are here, then they also have to go into talking about what they know about what they've been doing here. And that is the part that, I think of different scenarios on why they wouldn't want to tell us and which ones make more sense or not. And it might be that they've observed them many times doing things like taking people, and they can't do anything to stop them, period. You know what I mean? So there's people that like to sit on the love and light side of this conversation, and I think there's some of that going on for sure. But as we know, there's a lot of different species out there, and most likely different agendas. So I think that they've witnessed them do something unspeakable, and it always makes me go back to the Lou Elizondo somber statement when he talked about somber, and then you get Ross Coulthard talking about people he's talked to, sources that also kind of lean into the same sort of thing, like there's this thing that we shouldn't know, and it's not that they don't essentially just want us to know that aliens are real. They just don't want us to know the bigger story. And that leans into your list theory. And I've always said ufology, we should always take the common sense approach in trying to decipher what's going on and what things make sense based on other information that we have. And I don't know, Dave, I don't want to sound like a fear monger or anything like that, but I'm on the side of we should be prepared for both, for friendly, loving interactions, or to find out that these things are plucking people off the earth left and right, and maybe not even returning some of them.
And I agree with you. Okay. But the question is, we can't find that out unless the government gives that up. And they're not wanting to give up. They're not going to do that. And that's where the anger has to be. The anger doesn't have to be at people like David Grusch or Elizondo or Ross Coulthard or George Knapp or anybody like that. The anger has to be pointed towards the government for pulling the wool over the people's eyes for decades, treating people like they are stupid, ruining people's lives, sending people to insane asylums because they've had extraterrestrial contact. All right. This is all stuff that has happened. Okay. I mean, if you want to go deep, it's led to murder as well. Look at, or offing somebody like Paul Benowitz. Rick Doty knows very much about that story, and he'll be a guest on this show coming up very soon.
Very soon.
How about Bob Lazar? Okay. These are all people who deserve to have their questions answered just as much as you do. Grant, you've seen UFOs. Rob G, you've seen UFOs. I'm an experiencer. I've seen 2 UFOs on the ground now. Completely different. One daytime, one nighttime. I want to know what the hell it is I saw, because I know it's real and other people saw it with me. Okay. I mean, there are serious questions that need to be asked that the government needs to answer for. They know what's going on, but they hide behind this UAP crap in order to block the way. And this is why I think it's important. Many people like Steve Bassett do not agree with me, that it's important to separate UFOs from UAPs. Because from what we've learned in 2023, UAPs are man-made. UFOs are not. And there's plenty of information to go along with that. Grant, I see you nodding.
Oh, I was in agreement with you on that one 100%. I 100% agree with you. And yeah, no, I understand people are going to be mad at the government, and especially when the truth comes out. And honestly, there's really going to be what do you think? Two sides to this, where they're either doing it for power or some type of weaponization of whatever technology that we're finding, because that's typically what they like to do. Or are they scared as well about what's really happening? I mean, who knows? They'll never let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we know they can't stop them from doing any. They could literally come here and do whatever they want, and the government has no ability to stop them in any way, shape, or form without exploding the entire planet with nuclear weapons would be the only thing, or use some experimental weapon. But which probably wouldn't end well for us in that scenario. And here's the part that makes me upset, right? It's the fact that regardless of what the reason is, we're at the mercy of these things every day. So before I found out aliens were here and had my experience, I would do things like travel through the desert in the middle of the night by myself, and without a care in the world, not realizing that I'm at potentially the mercy of something that the government can't even stop or control. So if people are, and we know because experiencers have come out and said they've experienced abduction scenarios, then essentially the government is leaving us open to this happening. And the least that they could do in that situation, if they're aware, and they have to be aware because so many people have come out and said this, is say, yeah, these things are real. Now let's come together and figure out how we can stop you guys from being abducted, because as we sit here every day not saying a word, another person experiences an abduction. And some people don't think that experience is a great experience. So do you really have the best interest of your people in mind when you are just sitting in your protected areas and then allowing your people to be open to Lord knows what?
Well, I agree. We got 2 minutes to go, gentlemen. We got 2 minutes to go before we have to say goodnight to both of you. Actually, Rob, I think you're kicking off with me and Super Duke. You're staying for the distance, I think.
Oh,
But
let's do it. Let's do it.
yeah, but Grant, we're going to kick you off. No offense.
Not a problem. Hey, it was a pleasure being here with you guys. Love
Man,
you, brother.
You look right here with Grant Tavius Max. Love it.
Well, I think the big thing that we have to take out of this conversation tonight is this: nothing's going to change. Disclosure is not around the corner. We are in a confirmation movement of the phenomena. There's going to be disclosure for dollars, which is different from grifting that people are being accused of. And we need to keep our sources safe for the sake of keeping those information lines open. And I don't think that that's very hard to request from the UFO field, or the public for that matter, who has interest in this subject. We need to keep the doors open. We need to keep providing that information. And this is why people love hearing these discussions on UFOs, because there is a real element of reality here that we need to continue to bring to the public. And that's our job. That's what we do best. And it's not just us at Spaced Out Radio. There's plenty of other shows out there that are doing their best to bring that information out to you guys as well. Okay, people are working hard. They work daytime jobs in order to get home at night to hop on a microphone and say what they have learned. They're taking phone calls. They're building their sources. They're building up their knowledge. And I think that's a win for the community, even though the community seems in disarray, and that we have to continue the pressure. Gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you, Mr. Rob G, for coming in the first 2 hours. I know you're going to stick around for hour number 3. And Grant Baker, co-host, After Hours on our YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys coming on in. Coming up next to kick off hour number 3 on Spaced Out Radio, Among the Missing, Steve Stockton. Then right after that, we're going to go to Super Duke on World Bigfoot Radio. A jam-packed hour number 3 is next. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear. Grant, thank you, buddy.
Hey,
Yeah,
not a problem. Hey,
appreciate
thanks
you,
for having
man.
me on, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I'll be contacting you soon, Grant.
All right, yeah, just text me, give me a call.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
pretty much available anytime you want, bud.
Keep
All
that
right, man.
mustache going, buddy.
Oh, believe me, I'm doing this just for you, my man. You'll see it. I'm going to be
Love
sending
it.
pictures.
Love it.
Lovely.
Hey, Grant, since you're still in the chat rooms, if you want to join us on Sunday, you can.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Awesome. I'll be there.
See you guys.
See ya.
Mhm.
See you, Grantavius. All right. Hello to Cowboy 5 Rings. It's going to be a while before you get your 6. You need a quarterback.
Oh, stop it, Dave. That's my team, dude. You can't do that. No, you
No,
can't do
I
that.
just did it. You need a Dak Prescott is not the answer.
He's not the answer. I'll agree with you on that. But Cowboy 5 rings, soon to be 6 rings. Welcome.
When?
We're gonna do it this season. I'm gonna manifest it. We're gonna put Trey Lance in.
You guys would have had better luck with Baker Mayfield than Dak Prescott.
We probably would have better if we played Cooper Rush, man. Look, you don't have to. You're singing to the choir when you talk about Dak Prescott. He should have been gone before the new contract. He should have been gone years ago. So I'm one of those Cowboy fans that can definitely speak reality, man. I know Dak sucks. He definitely sucks. He chokes in the big moments. Yeah, that's Dak Prescott. And I know Cowboy 5 Rings agrees, man.
All right, let's say hello to Blue Cruz. How you doing, buddy? Well, it's Light Walkers, nice to see you. And who else jumped in here? Let's see here. I think we got everybody. You guys have no idea the stress I go under making sure that everybody gets a hello. I could just imagine if we had like 400 or 500 people in here in one night.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
No. Yeah, there will come a day where it's not going to be possible. So that's why everyone should enjoy the ability to be personable, because it's just unrealistic at that point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, you know Tom Brady has more rings than the Dallas Cowboys, right?
Oh, just dig. Who's your team?
The British Columbia Lions of the Canadian Football League.
Oh, okay.
I don't have an NFL team. I kind of float around. Now, I did try to like a couple of teams, okay, but I'm just a fan of the game.
Yeah, Van Gold, he's Canadian, Rob. Right. And I don't know much about CFL to be able, because his team probably sucks too. But I don't really know much about him.
Wow. You went there, eh?
I knew a guy who played for the Regina Rough Riders.
Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
Yes.
My Lions are 12-6 this year. 12-6.
12-6.
Yep.
Yeah, but what's your competition like, though? That's the thing. The CFL is like the D League for the NFL.
No, you can't compare the two games. You cannot compare the two games.
Oh, yes.
Apples and oranges.
Come on, somebody chime in, man.
Do you remember Cam Wakefield?
Is he from the CFL?
Cameron Wade played for the Miami Dolphins.
No, I don't pay
Stand
attention
up
to
there.
the Dolphins.
Anyways, long story short, his first 2 years were in the Canadian Football League because they felt he was too small at the NFL level.
No, no.
Dominates the CFL, goes on to become an all-star in the NFL.
And
Warren Moon.
Retired in the CFL, right?
No. First 4 years in the CFL, he won 4 Grey Cups with the Edmonton Eskimos. Goes down to the U.S. and lights it up.
When I think CFL, and this is no shot out, no shot against you guys in Canada. You guys are all great people, definitely great people. But when I think CFL, I think Arena League football. It's like they're like right there.
No fair catches. None of that crap. Dark Protocol, how you doing? Travis, how you doing?
Travis W. Yeah, you're right. True fact. Look, our best hip hop artists out here is Canadian. Canada. I'm not saying Canada itself. We're just talking about the Canadian Football League.
If you're mentioning Drake's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's things I could say about him, but I'm just trying to give you guys props because he's from Canada and he happens to have a lot of hit records. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah. CFL's good ball, though, dude. You just got to get used to the different rules.
Yeah.
5 seconds. I'm going to put you on mute, buddy.
Yep.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go, the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jeremiad. Jeremiad is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing with another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Gunther Messner went missing from Nanga Parbat in 1970. In 1970, Gunther and Reinhold Messner, a pair of brothers, endeavored to climb Nanga Parbat, the ninth tallest mountain in the world. This towering peak stands at an impressive 27,000 feet. That's 8,125 meters above sea level, situated at the western edge of the Himalayas. Known as the Mountain of Destiny, it has claimed the lives of many climbers who have attempted to scale its treacherous heights. An article by Betsy Reed in The Guardian shared the story of the two brothers who successfully reached the summit but ran out of food and water. Unfortunately, one of the brothers, Gunther, suffered from altitude sickness and hallucinations, which led to his disappearance during the climb. There have been allegations that Reinhold Messner left his brother behind. However, Reinhold said both were descending the western Diamar face of the mountain when Gunther vanished. Reinhold continued the descent, but Gunther, already weak and lagging behind, was probably carried away by a massive avalanche. Reinhold sustained frostbite during the climb, losing 7 toes and a few fingertips. Max von Kindlen and Hans Soller, who were part of the climbing expedition, later wrote books in Germany claiming that Reinhold instructed his brother to descend the risky Rupal flank, even though they had almost died while climbing it. As per reports, Reinhold left his unwell brother behind to descend by an unknown western route on Diamar's face to become the first person to complete the descent. Some people have criticized Reinhold for prioritizing his ambition over his brother's safety. Reinhold took legal action against the 2 climbers and their publishers and insisted that he had done nothing wrong. He returned to Nanga Parbat a year after his brother's passing to look for the body, but found no evidence. He returned once more in 2000 to make a documentary about the journey and wrote a book detailing the agony he had been experiencing since then. In 2005, the remains of Gunther were discovered in the snow on Nanga Parbat. He was found wearing clothes and shoes halfway up the mountain. Reinhold's friend expressed joy upon hearing the news. He said, "We now have proof that Reinhold was correct." He also stated that most of the climbing community believed Reinhold's claims. With this discovery, he insisted any doubts or accusations circulated for years could be put to rest. The location of the remains matches Reinhold's statement that he didn't abandon Gunther on the mountain, but instead he was swept away by an avalanche. Hubert Messner, Reinhold's other brother, expressed great relief as the family could not communicate with Reinhold directly since he was in Pakistan and lacked access to a satellite phone. In 1980, Reinhold Messner made the first solo ascent of Mount Everest and, along with Peter Habeler, the first ascent of Everest without supplemental oxygen.
Then thank you to Steve Stockton for another weird story from Among the Missing. If you want more just like that, head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing. You can sign up for his channel for free and listen to as many stories as you like. From the missing to the mysterious mountains of Montana, here comes Super Duke for World Bigfoot Radio, the Cryptid Report. The Cryptid Report with Super Duke. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is back, and we always love this segment with you, big guy, as you got your mountaineering hat on, you got your hair done perfectly for the show, and you've always got great stories about the hairy monsters that are roaming around us. How you been doing, buddy?
For the benefit of anybody listening to this on the radio, Dave is giving you a flawed description. I've got my beat up mountain man hat on, my hair's a mess. But yeah, I'm sitting here. The weather here is miserable. We have a new weather term here, which describes it when you're just about the right temperature for it to turn from rain to snow or ice. Craptacular. That is today's weather term.
Yes. Yes, we're expected to be getting our first dump of white stuff here very, very soon here. Rob G, you don't know what that's like. You live in the sunny shores of California where you surf all day and you party all night, you know.
No, but I went outside the other day, and like I said, I looked up at the sky. It was this grayish hue, and some sort of liquid was falling from it. I Googled it, and apparently, like back in the ancient times, they used to call this stuff rain. So we got some of that stuff yesterday. So it's not always, it never rains in Southern California except for yesterday.
Weird.
And nice to meet you, Super Duke, man. Pleasure
Rob.
meeting you, man, for the first. Yeah, thank you, man. Super Duke.
Good to see you too, man.
Mm-hmm. So, Duke, what's it like going up in the mountains looking for Sasquatch and wearing a cape at the same time?
Well, you know, I follow the rules from the Incredibles, and I don't wear the cape anymore. It gets caught in the jet engine, and then it kills you. But I'll tell you, it's mighty relaxing because the areas that I generally go to are ones I've been going to for years, and the Sasquatch there know me and don't mess around with me. So I get really nice restful sleep while I'm up there. Other people that are with me, not so much. They get messed with. That's the new guy. That's what it's like for me anyway.
Oh man, must be nice. Must be nice. Duke, what
Well, I
kind
had to
of
go through it too, Dave. I had to put up with quite a few years of them being suspicious and pulling stupid pranks and, all that kind of their antics, their general antics and shenanigans. And then apparently I'm like on the, okay, leave him alone. Now I'll mess with the new guy that he brought this time. We'll keep him awake all night, keep walking around his car, shaking it and going in the distance just so he can barely hear that we're talking. And that's what they did with Johnny a couple of weeks ago. That was, he said about 2 hours of it, and they kept walking around his car and mumbling to each other and generally scaring his pants off. Meanwhile, I was way down the hill in my tent by myself, not getting messed with.
Duke, you always bring some very incredible stories to the Cryptid Report. What do you got going on for us?
Well, last time I talked about the LaFleur incident, which is fiction, and where that fiction came from. And as a matter of fact, I showed that episode on my show this last weekend because, about every 4 years, you got to haul it back out and bring it around to remind the new people that just got into the community that, hey, this isn't a real story. So I told you guys at the end of the last one that I would talk to you about a story that does seem to be a real story, and it's easily as spectacular. And this thing, it really had legs too. It's from 1829, and this happened right on the border of Florida and Georgia in the Okefenokee Swamp, technically on the Georgia side. This actually is I'm reading to you right now from exploresouthernhistory.com. The Okefenokee, in case you don't know, is a vast swamp and is one of the world's largest, and has spawned many legends over the years. Consequently, one of these legends is of a giant race said to live there. So now the question here that the author poses is, did a Bigfoot really attack a party of men in the Okefenokee Swamp in 1829? Or was it all a tall tale? The answer to those questions may never be known, but the story is one of many that add to the mystery of the swamp. The tale originated near the south end of Ware County, where the line that divides Georgia from Florida passes through the Okefenokee. In 1829, the first settlers were just pushing into the fringes of the swamp. Surrounded by the stunning beauty of the swamp, they quickly picked up on an old Indian legend that held that a mysterious race of people lived on an island deep in the wilderness. So far as is known, this legend first appeared in print in even earlier, 1806, in Jedediah Morse's book, Geography Made Easy, in his section on Georgia. Morse repeated a legend that a group of Indian hunters had gone into the swamp and become lost. When they were in a desperate condition, a party of the most beautiful women came to them and came to their rescue. Now, they, being lost in inextricable swamps and bogs and to the point of perishing, were unexpectedly relieved by these beautiful women, who they called Daughters of the Sun, who kindly gave them such provisions as they had with them, consisting of fruit and corn cakes. The tale is repeated by Morse, continued with women warning the hunters to flee as fast as possible to their own country, quote, because their husbands were fierce men and cruel to strangers, unquote. These men of the swamp were said by the Creek Indians to be of gigantic stature and both cruel and warlike. Winter of 1828-29 was extremely dry, and two men living on the edges of the swamp decided to go explore as deep into it as they could. Accompanied by a boy, they went into the Okefenokee and over a course of 2 weeks continued to penetrate deeper and deeper into the swamp. As they explored to the very heart of the swamp, they made a startling discovery of gigantic footprints. The length of the foot was 18 and the breadth 9 inches. The monster, from every appearance, must have moved forward in an easy or hesitating gait, his stride from heel to toe being a trifle over 6 feet. That's a quote from the original account. If they don't mention it in here, I'll bring it up at the end. Something else about the feet. The men, as newspaper of the time noted, quote, had seen enough, unquote, ending their expedition and retreating out of the swamp. They related to their friends and neighbors what they had seen. The story excited the curiosity of a party of hunters who lived just across the Florida line, 9 in number. They went into the swamp to find the mysterious giant. They were guided by one of the members of the original party. And it continues from the original report. Following for some days the direction of their guide, they came at length upon the track first discovered, some vestiges of which were still remaining. Pursuing these traces several days longer, they came to a halt on a little eminence and determined to pitch their camp and refresh themselves for the day. The expedition was described in detail in newspaper reports published in February 1829. These accounts indicated that as the hunters were discharging their guns to reload them with fresh powder for the night, a wild animal charged into camp. And of course, people nowadays would ask, why were they just randomly shooting their guns? Because they were using flintlocks and you needed to discharge them. If you left them overnight in damp conditions like a swamp, it would make the powder wet and then your gun wouldn't work at all. So they just emptied them out and then they were going to load them up again. The next minute after they fired off the guns, there was this creature full in their view, advancing upon them with a terrible look and ferocious mane. The little band instinctively gathered close in a body and presented their rifles. The huge being, nothing daunted, bounded upon his victims and in the same instant received the contents of the 7 rifles. The fight, however, did not end there. He did not fall alone, until he had gutted his wrath with the death of 5 of them, which he effected by wringing the head from the body. Writhing and exhausted, at length he fell with his hapless prey beneath his grasp. As the creature lay dying on the ground, writhing and sometimes roaring, the men who survived the attack gathered around it to make a closer inspection. The creature was found to measure 13 feet from head to toe, and, quote, his breadth and volume of just proportions. In other words, he wasn't a tall string bean. Immediately fearful that the dying monster's cries might attract others of its kind, the hunters fled the swamp. The men who died in the battle with the creature were left lying where they had fallen. It's a remarkable story, but could it be true? The honest answer is that no one knows. The newspaper correspondent who reported it wrote that people living in Ware County on the margins of the Okefenokee Swamp clearly believed it. And there's a little bit more.
What is, before you go on any further, Duke, when you hear an old recorded story like this, very anecdotal, very much on eyewitness testimony, as a professional Bigfoot hunter that you are, what kind of stock do you put in this type of material?
In this particular one, I put a lot into it because their reporting aside, there's a lot more to the story that they didn't bother to mention. And part of the deal there is that, first of all, this story had legs. It was in newspapers at least as far away as Indiana. So there's multiple versions of this. It went in newspapers all over the country at the time. It was a big story. So they got more information on it, of course, because it was a big story. They were trying to dig up much, and some of it came out. And for one thing, the guy, they didn't actually have like a newspaper in the small town. The nearest town to it didn't have anything like that. And then there was the further one away from there was Milledgeville or Midgeville, which at the time was actually the capital of Georgia. So they were like near a suburb of it on the edge of the swamp, apparently. And after this incident happened, the guys that it happened to went back and reported to the town crier of the local town. So when you don't have a newspaper or anything, there's the town crier, and it's his job to document all of this stuff and make sure that there's some sort of record of it. So according to the story, they brought him back out there. He actually was right there when they were measuring the body and showed it to him. It was still there when they got back there. And, you know, he duly noted that, yeah, there's this huge thing out there that they shot. I don't know what it is. One of the other things in the report, their version that I read that got left out, is that the feet had 4 toes. Now, in Here's another breakdown. The 1829 story, according to Lauren Coleman, the recorder heard the account from the lips of one of the guys who was actually there. They give his name, John Austin of Ware County, Georgia. Again, mentions it was 13 feet tall. The story was going through all sorts of different papers. A modern researcher found it in his hometown newspaper records on microfilm. The account reprinted in the Western Sun, a General Advertiser newspaper of Vincennes, and that was on 6th of June, 1829. As he says here, the capital of Georgia was then Milledgeville, roughly by the center of the state. The town was named for a Revolutionary War hero who had been governor and U.S. Senator from Georgia. The town's newspaper, The Statesman, reported the story of an adventure of 9 men in the Okefenokee Swamp. And so we got where it came from, right down on where the Okefenokee is, the little town there, the town crier. All this stuff is named in the actual full-length report in the story. And it has not been debunked, ever. So there's that. Some of these other stories, like the one I covered last week, we looked into that and we could debunk it. And I'm not the only one that did it. Bob Gimlin on his channel looked into it, and he got the same sort of feeling from it. There's nothing historical to back it up. The story does not appear anywhere until the 21st century.
My feeling on it is I love stories like this. I do. There are so many, whether it's this one, whether it's Albert Ostman, whether it's the Ape Canyon story. I learned so much from the legend of this, because back then there was no reason to BS about a Sasquatch. There was no reason to make stories up for social media. These people were having wide-eyed encounters that were unbelievable, and all they wanted to do was get their story out, that there was something bigger out there that people were missing.
Yeah, you got to think in 1829, that area was incredibly wild. There were just, there weren't a whole lot of people living there. So it was really easy at that point for big cryptids to be lurking around there, and nobody would know about it. They're still capable of doing that today with much less cover. And, there, like I said, there was a whole lot of details on this one, including the town crier, his name, all of this kind of stuff. The fact that they brought him back out there, and he did say in his report that, yes, they brought me back out where this dead thing was, and they measured it again to show me it was 13 feet long, yada, yada, yada. He also mentioned the point that it had four-toed tracks, which, leans me away from thinking it was actually a Bigfoot. It was probably a mountain giant, because they all have four-toed tracks, basically what Norwegians would call a mountain troll. So that could have been what was living down there. Also could have been just some kind of a huge Bigfoot, but the four toes thing, that's, pretty peculiar. We've run across those tracks before up here too.
That's insane. I mean, how are all these people allowed, I guess is the best term I can think of right now, to still be alive after these encounters?
Well, in this case, that one was trying to kill all of them. He just probably had never seen a human with a gun before and underestimated what they could do with their firepower. But they're in his territory making a racket. They said they're getting ready to camp for the night, so we can assume it was like around dark or probably a little later. And that's when they come out and start doing things. And all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of annoying humans in his area making a racket. So he went after them. And apparently they managed to load their guns fast enough again to be able to take them down before he killed every last one of them.
Mm-hmm. That's just, what do you think set this Sasquatch off?
Noise, proximity. A lot of the ones that are out in the middle of nowhere are out there because they don't want to be anywhere near humans, natives or not. And, again, like they said, this was a really dry year. They were able to penetrate way further into the swamp than they normally could. They were way out there. It took them several days to get out to where this actually happened, so critters in that area just not used to humans being there, didn't want to put up with the racket. This is my turf. I'm just going to rip your heads off now. And there's an important detail because nowadays, enough researchers have seen how Bigfoot take out animals to know that their favorite method of doing it is to just twist their neck and break that. And there's that detail from 1829 in that story.
Well, let's get back to Super Duke and World Bigfoot Radio's Cryptid Report here on Spaced Out Radio. Super Duke joins us once a week to give us the living legend stories and lore from the mountains and the forests around North America. We'll be back with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this. Hey, Rob, feel free to jump in on Super Duke with some questions too, man.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted them to be able to finish, but I had a question about because that sighting that the story you just told kind of reminds me of. Well, do you want me to wait till we come back?
Yeah, wait till we come back.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got some more stories after that. Meanwhile, Super Duke's going to go have a cig for a minute here.
That's what Super Duke does during this time.
Darn tooth.
He's a darn tootin' kind of guy. Having fun, Rob?
Yeah. This is my first Super Duke experience, man. So I'm soaking it in, and I have one for him. Ask him if he's. I hope he's heard about it. Maybe he can elaborate on what he thinks about this particular story here in California.
He'll have an answer.
That's yeah. I'm anticipating that too, because it's supposed to be this thing, and I don't know if it comes from a place of like, is it more myth, or is this particular story, or is it based in reality? Because I'm leaning on based in reality, for if I remember where I heard it originally. So we'll see.
Good. It's good times, man. Anytime you get a little dookie poo action.
Yeah. Let's see. I've experienced everyone except for Robin Haynes.
Yeah, Robin's a love. Robin's just a love. Hey, Thurston Howell III, how's Lovey? Let us know.
How much time we got, Dave? Like 3 minutes.
A couple minutes, yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back.
It's absolutely miserable out there.
Does anybody know what Mrs. Howell's first name was?
Lovey.
It was Lovey. Good call there.
I don't know if they ever said her actual name at all. That was just what Thurston called her all the time. According
to Google, okay, it was her first name, not just a nickname. It was her Mrs. Howell's first name.
Cool.
Yeah, and Gilligan's first name was actually Willie.
That one I didn't know. That sounds about right.
Hi, Ingrid Cold. How you doing? Super Duke's first name is Super.
Yeah, thanks for starting that, Dave. I'm getting that in chat rooms all over the place now.
All out of love.
Yeah.
Hey, don't blame the messenger. I'm just Don't blame me.
Don't shoot the messenger, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of my favorite stories. We've been trying to dig up more info on this for years, and other than, this basically the same newspaper story in a couple different places. And then that there seems to be an actual trail that there was a town crier that recorded this. Well, that's about all you can expect from 1829. You're not going to get a picture.
And I don't want to stop your flow, Duke. So I'll let you get through your stories, and I'll ask you about this one last.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might want to ask about it first, because I got a whole bunch of historical accounts that I'm going to read through really fast.
Okay.
It was thanks to Lauren Coleman, who compiled pretty much all the list of all the best reports from 1829 up to, the latter part of the 20th century. Well, that was a fart.
Here we go, the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Cryptid Report with Super Duke. My name is Dave Scott, joined by Mr. Rob G from our After Hours on YouTube. Good to have you with us. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can follow us and join the SOR Space Travelers Club on Patreon. Super Duke is back with the Cryptid Report. My man, what story do you got for us next?
Well, I got a couple more. First of all, I got to do a shout out to Linda Thomas, who's in the chat room. Why are you up this time of night? Go to bed. Thanks for being here. Actually, Rob, did you want to ask that question?
Yes. So, Duke, have you heard of this? Okay, there was a story here in California, Northern California, Mendocino County area up north, and there were a group of individuals, we'll just call them farmers, and there was a situation where I guess they had a camp set up, and then one of them had gone out to tend to the crops and ended up being torn to pieces. And they were saying or thinking that it was actually a Bigfoot that had done it. And so I guess it's two parts. Had you heard that story? And then is it normal for them to display that sort of behavior?
Have not heard that story.
Okay, I got to dig it up for you.
Yeah. Was it recent or something from the...
This was, I heard this story. This was maybe within the last 10 years, but it happened within the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But I'll have to get the actual story and send it to you and then see what you think about it. But
the nice thing about stories like that, if it's in recent times, who is it that was supposedly torn apart? What's their name? Is there a death record?
I can find out. See, these guys, if you know about that area in Northern California, they grow illegal crops up there. So these guys are under the radar type of guys. And it was a story being told in their camp that a person ended up torn to pieces, literally, and they were saying or blaming it on it being Bigfoot up there. So I'll get the full story for you and I'll send it to you.
First of all, that is a place where there's Bigfoot. And secondly, they don't like people coming in and messing around in their woods. Pretty much no matter what you're doing, they don't want you there. So thirdly, they do use marijuana, and sometimes they steal it from the growers, which I find to be hilarious. And it is possible that they could have been violent with them. The only problem with this is, like you're saying, they're trying to fly under the radar. So are they going to make a report to the police that any of this stuff is going on?
Right.
Oh, hell no.
Right.
So if any of this did actually happen, what's the chance of finding out any kind of, paper trail on it, any kind of report on it? Short of somebody actually being killed and disappearing, like he just dropped off the map, we don't know what happened to this guy. So a story like that is incredibly hard to vet because there's no trail whatsoever. These people are trying to cover everything up to start with.
Okay, yeah, because there was a guy who had heard the story, and then he went out to the location to see if he could find out more information on it. So I'll have to dig that up because I really want you to see that.
I know one report that I heard from there that I do actually believe, because I know the source, and they got it from somebody that they actually know that was doing a guerrilla grow thing there. And they had it all set up, and they had spent a ton of money, and they had somebody there almost all the time. And on those very rare occasions when there wasn't somebody there, something would happen. And they thought humans were doing it until they started finding the giant tracks. And finally, when the crops were about ready to go, a good sized portion of them just disappeared. And again, those giant tracks were there where the plants used to be. And then apparently the following night, they came back and just destroyed everything else that was there.
Okay, and then but they are known to be attracted to marijuana, so that's a good thing to know.
Well, it's medicinal; they can eat it,
Okay,
so, yeah,
that makes it plausible. So, okay, I appreciate you on that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, but trying to track down anything from a story like that is really difficult.
The guys,
and you get that a lot with a lot of the Bigfoot stories that are around, that sound like really amazing, super scary. Yeah, it's a great tabloid story. But when you get right down to it and you try and track down where the story came from and who it happened to, it's always a dead end.
Falls apart. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So,
appreciate it, man.
Okay, let me give you guys some more reports that Lauren was kind enough to compile for us. These are old newspaper wildmen reports. And if I got enough time to make it through enough of this, you'll notice that after a certain period, all of a sudden, they're not calling them wildmen anymore. An old North American newspaper account appeared in the Exeter Watchman of New York on September 22nd, 1818. This is before the one I just told you. The item told of sighting a wild man in the woods near Ellsburg, New York on August 30th, 1818. The hairy creature was said to bend forward and running and left footprints showing a narrow heel with spreading toes. Such accounts were followed by reports of hairy child-sized creatures seen in Indiana and Pennsylvania in the 1830s. Then, beginning in 1834, in Arkansas, a giant wild man was seen by many people in the Ozarks. Even the journal Scientific American for March 1846 mentioned this monstrous wild man with, quote, 22-inch long footprints as being seen in the swamps near the Missouri-Arkansas state line. There's that swamp thing again. The Memphis Inquirer of May 9th, 1851, reported on the Arkansas sighting the previous March, noting, quote, this singular creature has long been known traditionally in St. Francis Green and Poinsett County, Arkansas, sportsmen and hunters having described him so long as 17 years ago, unquote. The wild man was said to be of gigantic stature, hairy, and with shoulder-length hair on his head. Footprints found measured 14 inches long. From the Thumb of Michigan, Mark Hall chronicled in his 1999 book, Living Fossils, that hair-covered formidable man-like beings were seen in the 1860s near Lake St. Clair and Lake Huron. The group reportedly included adult males and females, as well as 3 or 4 smaller young ones. One male had a bristly beard, while another had a bald head and a white beard. They had enormous stomachs, long arms, and were strongly muscled. Similar hairy hominids in the specific area of Michigan were reportedly sighted in 1910, 1969, 1981, and 1983, according to Hall's research, and were chronicled by others into the 21st century. Furthermore, the aggressive encounters with the Sister Lakes and Monroe, Michigan monsters of 1864 and 65 closely mirror the earlier descriptions of these wild men. Now, various researchers from Mark Hall and Loren Coleman himself, through John Green in 78, Gary Mangiacopra, and Dwight Smith in 2002, have found reports of wild men in 19th century newspapers. Manji, Copra, and Smith, for example, discovered old records of a wild boy covered with hair seen near East Davenport and Gilbert, Iowa in 1869. Also of a giant hairy wild man and seen in Lancaster, Berks, and Chester counties, Pennsylvania in 1874, and of a hairy wild man seen near LaGrange, Indiana, beginning in 1895, and again 2 years later. The Winstead wild man was the rage of 1895 Connecticut. The reports began with a sighting, quote, on a sultry August day that year, say newspaper clippings from the time. A local town official, Selectman Riley Smith, was the first to spy the wild man. Others soon saw the creature too, but Smith's encounter was said to be the most credible. According to Frank Wentworth's 1929 book, The Winstead Wild Man and Other Tales, Smith went up to pick berries near the Coldbrook town line on Losaw Road in an area known then as Indian Meadow. Quote, while Smith was stooped over picking berries, his bulldog Ned, which is noted for its pluck, ran with a line to him and stationed itself between his legs, unquote. Accounts from the August 21st, 1895 Winstead Herald reported, quote, a second afterward, a large man, stark naked and covered with hair all over his body, ran out of a clump of bushes and with fearful yells and cries made for the woods at lightning speed, where he soon disappeared. Selectman Smith is a powerful, wiry man and has a reputation for having lots of sand. And his bulldog is also noted for his pluck, but Riley admits he was badly scared and the dog was fairly paralyzed with fear, unquote. Local posses of searches and newspaper reporters from New York and Boston were never able to track down the Winstead wild man. Now, near the Traverse Spine River, Labrador, come the 1913 accounts of the ape-like creature said to stand upright and yet also go about on all fours. This Traverse Spine white-maned primate reflects the piebald conditions common in the reports of the unknown primates and others such as Old Yellow Top, the name given to distinctively light-colored maned humanoids seen in 1903, 26, 70 in Cobalt, Ontario. Also, this Traverse Spine River creature was seen more as an ape than a wild man. Which takes us to the next part. By the end of the 19th century, references to the wild man started becoming references to gorillas. Why? Because then people knew what a gorilla was. This was directly related to the media attention about gorillas whipped up by Dr. Chalu's sensational travels in Africa and his book Exploration and Adventures in Equatorial Africa, with accounts of the manner and customs of the people and the chase of the gorilla, crocodile, leopard, elephant, hippopotamus, which was published in 1861. After his trip, which lasted from 1856 to 1859, wrote Vernon Reynolds in The Apes, Duchaillu returned to the United States, where he received widespread acclaim. In 1863, another famous guerrilla travel book was published, written by American explorer Winwood Reade, after he spent 5 months in guerrilla country. Now, as a result, many 19th century articles about strange creatures, whether real or imagined, started labeling them as gorillas. The record of gorillas in America began in 1869 with 2 news accounts uncovered by Mark Hall. The first concerns reports from Gallipolis, Ohio, on the Ohio River, and the account appeared in January 23, 1869, in an article headlined "A Gorilla in Ohio." It told of a hairy creature haunting the woods near the town that had jumped on a man riding in a carriage. The man's daughter, who was also in the carriage, threw a stone at the animal as it struggled with her father. The rock hit the animal's ear, and the, quote, gorilla, unquote, departed. The second incident occurred on the western fringes of the bottomlands along the Osage River of Missouri and Kansas. During the summer of 1869 in the Arcadia Valley, Crawford County, Kansas, people started seeing a, quote, wild man or a gorilla or a what is it, unquote. Called Old Chef by the locals, it was seen by more than 60 people. It cannot be caught. Nobody's willing to shoot it, reported the Osage City Journal Free Press on August 6, 1869. The debate of the day was whether it was of the human family or not. Same debate going on today, by the way. The writer of the piece noted that it, quote, probably will be found to be a gorilla or large orangutan that has escaped from some menagerie in the settlements east of here, unquote. The item, signed M.S. Trimble, was reprinted in Missouri and Minnesota newspapers. The creature allegedly had a stooping gait, long arms, and immense hands. It walked on its hind legs, but sometimes went on all fours. The gorilla escapee theory, upon closer examination, hardly holds any water. Researchers Mangia, Cooper, and Smith found one of the most intriguing early guerrilla reports in old archives of the Williamsport Sun-Gazette, February 1871, which reprinted a long article from the California Antioch Ledger of October 1870. The statements republished in the Eastern newspaper detail sightings of California guerrillas during 2 decades, beginning with the encounters of gold hunters coming to the minefields in 1849 and 1850. Up through 1870, miners had observed 2, quote, guerrillas, unquote. Indeed, they were mates in the mountains about 20 miles south of Antioch, California. The tracks discovered were like a man's, but of immense size. The creature was described as stocky, a little over 5 feet tall, with a head smaller than would be expected for the body seen. It gave forth a shrill whistle. The Pennsylvania naturalist and folklorist Henry W. Shoemaker once wrote a short essay called The Gorilla about the sightings of such an animal in Pennsylvania late in the 1920s and early 1921. Thanks to research by Chad Arment, we hear again of the oft-repeated but hardly credible escaped animal explanation in Shoemaker's writings. Shoemaker pondered, quote, the papers have told us how a gigantic man-ape escaped from a carnival train near Williamsport and, seeking the south, fled over the mountains to Snyder County, where it attacked a small boy, breaking his arm, held up automobiles, rifled smokehouses, and the like, and then appeared in Snyder Township, Blair County, still further south, his nocturnal ramblings in that region proving an effective curfew for the young folks of a half a dozen rural communities. This story sounds thrillingly interesting, but as gorillas live on fruit and do not eat flesh, the animal in question would have starved or frozen to death at the outset of his career in the Alleghenies, and there the unknown quantity of the story begins. Also keep in mind they said he was raiding smokehouses. That's where the meat is. Gorilla's not going in there. The newspapers have only printed the most popular version of the gorilla mystery, only a fraction of the romance and folklore that sprang up mushroom-like around the presence of such an alien monster in our highlands. Already enough has been whispered about to fill a good-sized volume, most of it absolutely untrue. Yet some of the tales, if they had not hit the real facts, have come dangerously close to it. So Bigfoot isn't just from the 1950s. This has been going on and on and on and on for as far back as there's records of it.
You said 20 miles south of Antioch, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Trying to picture that area. That's close to where Cryptid 559 is at.
And keep in mind, things change too. Some of these stories are from like 150 years ago. The areas that they're talking about probably look, especially over on the East Coast. We saw a Bigfoot here in the early 1800s. Yeah, it's all just city, pavement, and skyscrapers now. There's nothing there,
Yeah.
Duke, when you get reports from that length of timeline, do you ever look into that timeline and fast forward it to see if there is any new reports that are quite similar to what you're hearing from yesteryear?
Yes, excellent question. That's one of the ways that you can actually check to see if there's anything to the report at all. Because unless it was just random wandering creatures, if they were living in the area then and the area hasn't drastically changed, theoretically they should still be living there, right? So if you've got some area that's like the Okefenokee Swamp, okay, we'll use that as an example. That hasn't really been bulldozed and paved over. Are there still reports of Bigfoot down in that area? Oh, yeah. So, you can check on that. And then there's other things that there's apparently somebody found a report in an old historical book about Michigan and the warfare up on the border there, and with all the tribes being involved and switching sides and whatnot. And it was specifically about the War of 1812. And there's a report that these guys got ambushed by a gang of apes in the woods and attacked by them and had to repel them with rifle fire. Well, how the hell did they come up with a story like that in 1812?
That's one of the mysteries. So in that area, what have the reports been like over the decades since?
Well, since, this is like in Upper Michigan, there's tons of Bigfoot reports constantly. There's more of them coming out all the time because more people are willing to talk about it. But I don't expect that it's stepped up anything. And as far as frequency, it's just, people are more willing to actually talk about it. Don't forget a lot of the reports that are coming out now, and everyone's like, oh, there's so many Bigfoot reports coming out. Oh, how many of them actually happened this year? You had a ton of people that are coming forward that had reports 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago that never wanted to talk about it because of the ridicule factor, that are now finally deciding to come forward and talk about it. And then, of course, you got the old fart about the die factor, which is that I got one foot in the grave and the other one on a slippery banana peel, and I don't give a rat's patoot what they think anymore. I'm going to tell the story.
We got 2 minutes left. Rob, you got anything to add?
No, man. I want to see one of these things, man. I want to go on an expedition with someone who knows what they're doing.
Rob, I've got a quote Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles on this one. Careful what you wish for.
I know. Because if they're like, I don't know, man. I mean, I'll be like in the back, but I just,
even if you're 100% sure that those particular ones aren't dangerous and they're not going to hurt you, it's still scary.
Yeah,
I've been doing this for 45 years. 2 weeks ago, we had one walk into camp. He was so huge, his footprints were shaking the car.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is wild. And the area that I was talking about earlier, that Mendocino, literally it's forested from that point all the way up to the Canadian, and I'm sure across the Canadian border. So that's a huge, the entire northwestern part of the United States is literally one huge forest. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to meet one by myself.
What you're just saying is especially true here in Montana, because so much of this land has been set aside for state forests, national parks.
Yep.
Pretty much the whole Rocky Mountain range, most of it. There's big chunks of it that are, national forests and parks and whatnot. And if you look at it on a map, guess what? They pretty much connect.
Exactly. All the way up. And we have, I'm right on the Sierra, so we have Yosemite right north of here. And I'm sure there's something out there.
Yosemite's really dangerous. Yeah, don't go there.
Oh, okay.
Gentlemen, it is that time of the night where I have to say good night to everybody on this show. Super Duke, it's always a pleasure to have you back here with us, my man.
Right on. Good to be here. Nice to meet you, Rob. Always
nice
fun.
to meet you too, Duke. We'll do it again. Let's do it again.
All right.
Super Duke, 15 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find World Bigfoot Radio.
You can find me on Facebook at Montana Bigfoot Project and World Bigfoot TV, which tells you when my shows are coming out, which is always Saturday at 8 Central. And you can contact me personally on the MeWe platform on World Bigfoot Central. And, of course, my videos are on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey.
That's why we love you, man. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Good job, people. Good job.
I'm jealous of your theme song, dude. I'm jealous of your theme song, man.
That's the way we roll around here.
I see
The way we
that.
roll.
I'm going to listen to the actual song too. I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, the video's great too.
Yeah, it is. It is. I didn't tell Dave, but I got I was hanging out with Bumblefoot, man, over at his live stream one night, man. He only had 20 people in there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he was in there playing all sorts of everything. He was just playing TV show theme songs just off the head. Just okay, play this. And like, I'm like, this dude is amazing. This dude is amazing, man.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, he only had 20 people in the live. I'm like, wow. Intimate performance.
Must not do them very often.
No.
Yeah, some guy was on there with him, and he was just quizzing him and just testing his database, his knowledge base, and he played everything. He said, play the theme song from this, and he literally immediately start playing it like. I'm like, man, this guy is wow. He is sick on that guitar.
Yeah. I've been blessed to have several friends that are ridiculously over talented at guitar playing, and one of them I know why, because he lived in the far north and spent most of the year indoors with nothing to do but play his guitar. So he got really, really good at it, and he carried that thing with him everywhere. Going to dinner, he's got it sitting on his lap while he's eating. Watching a TV show, it's sitting on his lap. He's playing while he's watching. You go to the bathroom, it goes with him.
My guitar is right over here, man. I'm sitting there teaching myself to play, so I'm gonna try to play some of that Bumblefoot stuff, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, that takes some training to play that stuff. He's pretty good.
It does, yeah, man. Yes, the current intro for the After Hours, that song is so sick. If you've ever seen that video, the way he plays that, because he plays that double guitar. I don't know what you call that. What do you call that? A double guitar? You know what I'm talking about?
Double neck.
Double neck.
It's double the guitar. The top guitar is fretless.
Fretless. Okay.
Bottom
That dude
is
sick.
regular.
He was like, I was like, dang, this dude is crazy. When was he with Guns N' Roses?
1990 or 2006 to he spent 9 years with them. So 2014 minus 9, so 2005.
Oh, he just left, or he got kicked out, or what was the story?
He had enough.
Yeah, okay.
He had enough.
Ooh, one of those stories. Okay.
Yeah, I've never asked him about it. It just kind of not my area.
Yeah, I thought it'd be like a story that's out there, like, you know what I mean? Since it's such a big band.
At some point, it'll get out.
Yeah.
I got to show you guys who I have riding shotgun with me right now.
Oh,
Lord!
Say hi,
Iggy. What's his name?
Sushi the Adventure Dragon. Here he is. I just woke him up. He's been riding on my hoodie, sleeping for about 4 hours now.
Man,
and he would just sit there and happily sleep all night if I hadn't just pulled him out and woke him up.
Man,
yeah.
What do you feed him?
Show everybody how pretty you are.
We feed ours crickets.
Bud.
How old is he now, Duke?
He's like about 6, 7 years old. There, now I can see you.
That's prehistoric right there.
That's the Adventure Dragon. He goes Bigfooting with me too. You seen Bigfoot too, huh? Yep.
Thank you, the Lioness, for subscribing. Appreciate you.
There, put you back on my neck. You can go back to sleep again.
Joe Monk, he eats dragon food. That's funny.
Yeah, when they're adults like that, mainly what they eat is just fruit and veggies. If a bug wanders past their mouth, they'll eat it, or a mouse or whatever. But when they're little, all they eat is bugs.
Yeah, yeah. I had one. We used to feed them crickets. Go get a big thing of crickets. You tear them up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun watching the little ones run around and slaying every cricket anywhere near them. This guy here, we had him camping, and somebody at the campsite spilled some pop or something on the ground. So there was this, puddle of sugar, essentially. So every fly and hornets and everything were all landing on it, trying to get some. And he noticed them and went, "Oh, this will be fun," and went running over and started eating them. And the hornets were like taking offense to this. They didn't like to be eaten. So one of them landed on the side of his head and was trying to sting him, and then it realized that it couldn't get its stinger in his armor. And he just closed his eye on that side of his head and then ate another one of that hornet's buddies. And it finally took so much offense, it flew around. It was going to try and attack him from the front. And then he just nabbed it with a sticky tongue technique and ate him too.
Sticky tongue technique. Oh, man, that's hilarious.
It's martial art technique of the bearded dragons, the sticky tongue technique.
Good morning to Dogman UK. Hello, Ash Smart. How you doing?
Dogman UK, that guy right there, man, that's the guy.
Somebody's got to keep an eye on those Dogman over there in the UK. They're getting out of hand.
Man,
I nominate Dogman Uck to do it.
Yeah, he has some good videos over there too. Yeah, don't the dragons run around free essentially like over in Florida? Is that the state where you can find them?
Bearded dragons are from Australia.
Okay, so it must be iguanas. They're iguanas.
Yeah, there's iguanas. They're transplants.
Okay.
They're not supposed to be that far north, but they can survive down in the southern part of Florida. Any further north than that, they just freeze. It gets cold there occasionally, and then they freeze solid and fall out of the trees, which is pretty hilarious. But they're not prepared for that kind of weather. But yeah, as far as bearded dragons go, when it gets cold enough, they just dig a burrow and hibernate.
Do you leash them when you take them out, Bigfoot?
No. He's got a little screen porch that I bring with, and I just put that on a log or something, and he sits in that during the day unless he's riding around on my shoulder like he is right now. When we're out hiking and stuff, he usually comes with.
He doesn't move. He doesn't try to get away.
Well, if he's got to take a poop or something, then he wants to get down. But other than that, no. Occasionally he gets tired and he wants you to take a break for a few minutes because, hanging onto your back while you're lumping and crumping around through the tall timber and jumping over logs and all this other crazy stuff we have to do to get through it because we ain't on trails or anything. So it's, like it takes energy for him to hang on to you and not fall off too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, about every 15, 20 minutes, like, okay, take a little break, put him on a nearby nice warm rock or something, let him sit there, eat nearby bugs, take a dump if he needs to, and pick him back up, go on our way again. Plus he's I actually had one of these, it wasn't him, it was another dragon that I had with me that was sitting on my back, and I walked into this thicket of trees, and there was like 3 that I could spot for sure on the video. Bigfoot in Germany said there was 5 in there. And at one point, the dragon spotted one of them and leaped on top of my head and dug his claws in. And they never do that. I've never had one do that before and never had one do that since. Ooh. So I immediately got the hint and went, something out of the ordinary has just happened. And he was looking behind me. And I had that creepy feeling. So I had the camera going too, and I'm like, well, my dragon just jumped on top of my head. I'm getting out of here right now. I'll talk to you guys when I get out of this thicket.
Yeah.
And on further review, yeah, I was basically surrounded by him. But the dragon noticed him when I didn't and warned me, hey, I don't know what those things are, but probably you should leave.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great detector.
Yep. So that's why I like to carry them around with me because they're watching behind you all the time. They're watching what's behind you while you're walking forward. And the way their eyes are set up, they're also great for aerial surveillance. So they can't be crawling around in the trees up above you. They'll spot them too. Because their main predator is a hawk. And the way their eyes are set, they lean their head forward and they've almost got stereoscopic vision, but they can also see what's above them at the same time.
That's crazy.
So you got one of those behind you. He's watching above you and behind you while I'm watching in front of me. I got complete surveillance going on. See,
that's the technique, Dave. You might want to pick one of these things up, man. That's technique.
Too cold up here, man. I was thinking of getting a chameleon for the studio.
Oh, chameleons are cool. Depends on what kind you get. Some of them are like really hard to keep alive. Other ones are cool. Panther chameleons are spectacular, but they always get necrosis, and they only live about 3 years, and they cost $600. Well, that was a few years ago. They probably cost $1,000 now. So. Yeah, they're incredibly hard to keep alive. I had a friend that was a reptile breeder that somebody else had a bunch of them that he had managed to keep alive long enough to get them to adulthood, and they were starting to have problems, and he took them, and he couldn't do anything with saving them either. They're just prone to necrosis when they're in captivity for some reason. Basically, short version, they rot from the inside out, and for no apparent reason. But even if they're in really good condition, they only live like 3 or 4 years anyway.
Man.
Well, gentlemen, it is that time of the night where we got to say goodbye to our audience. Duke, thank you for another great cryptid report and story.
Duke.
Right on, Dave.
Sweet Robbie G.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Say again?
I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
And a big thank you to Louis ×2, Cat Chaser, and W. Decker for the great super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, we have Bruce Cornett talking about ET contact, Mars and moon artifacts. We're going to turn up the woo tomorrow night, guys. And don't forget May 10th through 12th. Get your holidays booked for Reno, Nevada that weekend for the 3rd annual SOR fan party. We want to see you there. We're going to have more details coming very soon for you. Yes, Rob.
Doty on Saturday. Rick Doty on Saturday. Make sure you guys come to the after hours. And then Sunday we have the Luigi Venditelli, who is the producer of the new epic Bob Lazar film. You don't want to miss either day. Guys, be there.
Awesome. Dave, give me a jiggle tomorrow when you get a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
All right.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.